allowed by agreement, and the order is right here, Mr. Clerk. All right. Next, I did amend the scheduling order, so we don't need to hear that anymore, right? And I tried to do it, Ms. Little, to save you from working an entire weekend. You got it early enough to do that, right? On the 10th of February?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. So paper number 483. This is the motion to compel production of a forensically signed copy of the January 29, 2020 video surveillance footage in law enforcement custody. And the opposition, Jim, I don't have a docket number on this. I think it was just filed. The Commonwealth's opposition in response. Do you have a paper number? Okay.
I'm sorry, the opposition to?
Defendant's motion to compel production of a forensically sound copy. We'll get started in the argument, and you can give me that.
506?
Great, thank you.
That's the response.
Right. Okay. Who's arguing this motion for the defendant?
I am, Your Honor.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor. My comments will be relatively brief. We filed this motion basically because we had no choice. We were following the court's instructions, meeting with Mr. Brennan after court the last hearing, which was the 6th, about the download of the video footage that apparently has been stored, or at least we believed at the time last week, had been stored on some sort of an iCloud. We were told that this was an account of a retired detective, as explained by Mr. Brennan. We met after court. Mr. Brennan told us that we did not need, we told Mr. Brennan that we did not need an expert to fly out and go through all the machinations of having someone present if all the information was a download from some iCloud account, unnamed iCloud account. As long as that was videotaped, we were fine with it. And that was basically the agreement. That was the information that we had at the time. We were predicating that on a conversation that we had with Mr. Brennan in January, I think it was January 22nd. He indicated that he went to Canton PD the same date, and the court will recall December 12th was the date of what I've referred to as sort of the wild goose chase, that we sent an expert out, etc. That same afternoon, apparently Mr. Brennan went to the Canton Police Department and found out that there was, in fact, additional video, which was news to us. He claims that it was news to him. And putting aside how odd that is, after 3 years of being told we have everything, he went on to explain in very specific form in a telephone conversation that he had met with a retired detective. At the time, he could not remember the detective's name. He said that the detective believed that he kept a copy of the January 29 video that we were looking for, and that he said that it was on a work computer's iCloud account. Mr. Brennan said that they intended to download it from the iCloud, turn it over, and that's the point at which we said, if you don't mind, just hold on that, because we're litigating ultimately this issue, which was the litigation we had on February 6th. So we had the hearing. The day after court on the 6th, after we reached this agreement that the iCloud would just be downloaded and videoed, we received an email from Ms. McLaughlin, and that changed the parameters of what we had believed and what we'd been told by Mr. Brennan, and it sounded more like this. The Commonwealth changed the story from some work computer iCloud account to the footage was being stored on what's called the, quote, department's video file system. It's very different than a retired officer's or a retired detective's work computer's iCloud, which is what Mr. Brennan believed at the time and what we were led to believe at the time.
Boom. Hey, welcome. Just started a little bit earlier because I wanted to get the video going. I want to get that video up because we got a big guest and always limited time around my schedule. Try to get it all in. No, this is not a replay. This is a live show, but that's video from court this week. And it's about the video data. It's about this lack of Anything looking professional from the prosecution, Alan Jackson, going after them about the data. We need the data. We need the data. We've been talking about this. We've had Abby on twice now. Call her Video Jesus to talk about this data and what could have been done with this Sallyport video that was inverted. That I believe they purposely inverted it so that they would look like they weren't near the taillight before the jury. And the judge didn't care. The judge didn't care. She didn't. So this is going to become a big part of Karen Reed 2.0. And we've been talking about it with Abby. And every time they speak about the video data, we bring up our Video Jesus. She's an expert. She's worked at, I think she said Avid. Yeah, I think that was it. Big company related to video software. And we had her break it down last time, so I'm hoping she can break it down again tonight. Let's bring up Abby. I think it's 6 o'clock or 6:30, like we said. 6:31, perfect. Perfect timing. So let's bring up Abby, and maybe we'll play more of this video tonight, too. Abby, how you doing tonight?
Good, good. How are you doing?
Good. I'm exhausted, but I'm still like loving my life anyways, you know?
Yeah. It's been that trial was crazy. I kind of called it that they weren't going to have the magic file. I was hoping for the magic file, but
Yeah.
they didn't have it.
I screwed that up. I was trying to give it yeah, the magic file, right? I wonder if they'll ever refer to it as the magic file. Is that your phrase? Did you come up with that, or
I did come up with the magic cloud file because I didn't think that it existed, to be perfectly honest. Because first it was on a cloud, which again, Equivision does have integrations where you can store, files in a cloud. But the way they were talking about it, it just didn't seem what's the word? It didn't seem plausible to me that it was just like, oh, there's this hard drive that has footage on it, which we did see that in court. And I posted a few pictures on my Twitter that showed when Lally screwed up. I think it was day 20. And there was just like maybe 10 seconds where what were these Equivision files? And we did see it played in Equivision, so it was confusing. And I'm like, okay, so if the defense doesn't have the EXE files, the PSX file, which is basically what Alan Jackson was talking about in the last hearing when he was referring to the player being embedded in the file. So when you click on the file, the player will come up. There's only one other file that will play in Equivision, which is the .ps file, which you can actually alter. So when I did put up I call it the Lally screw up of his screen grab, it was interesting because they had some .ex files, which did actually have dates on them. But there was a lot of PS files. So where are these files? If the defense only has, which I believe they only have like an MP4 or a .avi, where are these files that were played in court? And what did they give the defense?
What's a PS file compared to the other one? I know what the other one is because I've actually gotten video that way from that company, actually. A surveillance camera from the Heinz Convention Center.
Mm-hmm.
What is this PS? What's that?
So there's so basically the exe file and a .psx file are two different files that have the player embedded inside of them. So basically you can just click on the file and like the player will pop up. The other file is a .ps file, which is basically a file that doesn't have any when we talk about the H.264 stream encryption, which is more of a codec. So all of these videos are basically streamed in H.264. But the exe and the .psx file, those streams are actually encrypted, so they're very hard to change. I mean, they're not impossible to change, but you have to do a lot of back work to change those files just because they have the embedded player data within the actual metadata for them. The .ps is basically a file that you can play in Equivision, but the player doesn't come along with it. So I would like to call it like a stream alone file, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So does that indicate what you saw there looks actually legit actually to me, like, right? Like, am I reading that wrong? Is it like, is there any suspicion based on what you saw, that because I saw what you posted there?
Yeah, I mean it's suspicious because okay, so we did see the files that were played in court, which was a .exe, but the actual, so just to preference that. So if I have a .ps file and I export it out in Equivision as a .ps, not a .psx or a .exe, I can play the .ps in Equivision. So if I alter it, so say I want, we'll just put a hypothetical. I'm filming my living room and I want to edit in a picture of my cat. If, as long as I match the duration and I encode it right in the PS file, I can play that back in Equivision, and then I can export it back out as an exe and a .psx if I do it correctly. But I can't do that with a .psx because I can't change the file because the file is encrypted inside the container. So if you think again, like we're thinking about like a again like an H2, if we think about a container as like the wrapper, so this would be like the .exe and the .psx, and even the .ps is basically what we call like a wrapper, and the stream is inside the box. So that's basically what everything's recorded on. So there's the recording stream and then the container. So you can change the .ps container, but you can't change the .exe or .psx container because it's harder, just because that player data, like the proprietary player data, is stored inside of it, so it makes it a little bit more tricky to swap it out.
Definitely. I realized that. I tried to save. I couldn't do the normal shit when I got one of those files. It's weird.
And you can't save it as another file type though. So if you do have that .ps file, which I thought was really interesting that they did have that in the Lally screen. So say that the video was altered, and it was almost like that stream swap I was talking about in our last couple videos, where you can go into FFmpeg and switch out the video streams, which you can do with a .ps file only. You can't do it with the other two types that you can play in Equivision, but you can do it with the .ps. And if you can manage to get it to play in Equivision, you can actually export it as an exe. So it almost looks legit. So that's one way they could have done it. Or, I mean, I'm going to be honest, after the hearing, I'm also on the fence that maybe it was a screen capture video. I'm on the fence of either one. I think it's very level at this point, because it's interesting that they wouldn't give the defense, even at the time of last year, why wouldn't they give them the exe or the .psx files? Because those are the only ones that are going to have like the metadata in them from the actual, again, like the Equivision native files. So that just seems a little bit weird to me.
What did you think about what Hank was saying? Saying, I don't know if there's any metadata, and I don't know, and not actually addressing what Jackson was concerned about. He kept talking about it's a click and save or click and move, and
it's not a click and move though. It's not like you actually have to physically export it. So this is the thing that doesn't make sense about that. So when Alan Jackson is saying, where did all these mysterious clips come from? Because you literally have to clip it. Unless you're editing these clips out, you have to go into Equivision. Whether it's, I mean, honestly, it's usually just I don't even think you can really do it with the player. To be honest, you actually have to go into the interface, like the user interface, clip the parts in it. So where did these mysterious files come from? They either exported them very meticulously, so they cut people out, but it's still that one Sally port where we know it was cut. Like the group of picture pattern doesn't match as far as the H.264, how it would typically encode and decode. So we know that like it was definitely cut, because every time you see it cut, that's not motion activation. And even if it was, there's an original file usually. So there's like the continuous file, and then there's the motion activation file. So it seems like it was either clipped as part of like a case management file, which you can like basically like take 6 clips and then export it as one in like a .ps, and then again export out as an exe, which I think could have been the thing. But there's also other things in there that you kind of see that look like, again, that they were like post-produced. Like we see the tail light. So it's interesting that they don't have the full file, which we actually know they have the full file because we saw it in court. I mean,
Yeah.
if you actually look at the naming conventions of the Lally, you know, like the Lally screen grab, like it does say like from, you know, from I think it was like from 12 a.m. to 5:30 p.m., from 5:30 p.m. to 12 a.m. So they have all these files, yet the defense doesn't have them. So where'd the magic files go?
Yeah. And they don't, it's funny. And he's like, I don't know if there's any data. I don't know. Do you
I mean,
believe that? Do you believe that he's being truthful on what's going on here?
I know he's not, because the hard drive says it all. Like it was on a hard drive. So these files, this is the thing, is that if these streams were replaced in the files, and say hypothetically they were played in Equivision, if this drive, was it, because it was definitely played from a drive, because we saw like all those, I think there was like 6 files on that drive that were specifically Equivision. You can see the Equivision logo. They have the different time stamps, like in, honestly, the naming conventions are weird on that too, but we can see like the time dates of like 5 p.m. to 8 a.m. or, you know, and it was from like the 28th all the way to the February 2nd. So we know they had them at one point. So where did they go?
Absolutely. I got to acknowledge the chat too. I just jumped in quickly. You could tell I'm overtired right now.
I'm a little
I didn't even
overtired.
acknowledge last night was phenomenal. Number one, the chat, the show. I had a perfect show for once. Like,
Nice.
it's like my mods are actually offering me an award if I can keep it up for 28 more days, because I did 2 days in a row, 2 nights in a row,
Oh, wow.
where I didn't actually mute myself. That's like like usually it's average 2 per show. Like,
Oh,
did I mute
really?
myself the first time you came on or not?
I don't think so.
I think I might have had a perfect show with you. We'll see. We'll try to do it tonight. So we're trying to do 3 in a row. Like, this would be amazing. So I got to thank Dan Gallagher. She was so great last night. That was such a good show.
Awesome.
All our mods, all the comments, and everyone in the chat tonight. People are already with me and poking fun of me, which is okay. This is one that came up about, where is that one I want? I posted it. It's like, here it is. It's true. Mike, you're pretending to know what she's saying. Sometimes I get it. Like, I get some of the things because I've done some, video work a little bit, but some of it, yeah. Aren't we all watching, just trying to be like, I think I get it. Maybe.
Well, it's really, it's hard to explain too, because when I talk about, again, the one major, I guess, the one oddity about the whole Karen Reed thing when we first saw the Sally Port was that it was played in Equivision, or it appeared to be played in Equivision, which again, Equivision files are very hard to tamper with unless you know what you're doing. And you can tamper with those files if it's a .ps file, so there's only 3 proprietary types, which that's the only type that doesn't have the player embedded inside the actual container, which I know that this is like very complicated, but it's important to note, because how did they play it in court? Because they played it with these proprietary files that they're talking about, but the defense doesn't have these proprietary files. So where did the files go?
Where's the data? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. They never know. They never know what's going on. Months later, years later.
Yeah.
We a lot of people are enjoying this. They like you, Abby. I'm just
Even
reading the
though-
chat. Yep. And somebody said, basically referred to my 2 non-mute shows. It came after a 5-minute mute on my show before that. It was like the worst mute ever. And the Carl Steinbeck show, where I had 2 mistakes and one was the mute. It was like, and Larry OG, he put out the video. I don't know if you guys have seen it on Twitter. I might put that on my YouTube. It's what he thinks I'm saying during the break while I'm muted. And it's totally, he puts words in my mouth, and it's freaking hilarious. It's just, so
well,
I love
not
that.
Too hard to understand.
Yeah. The audience just, they enjoy it now. It's part of the show.
Yeah, I'll try to break it down easily, but I've been working on some videos of just how I was able to basically alter a .ps file, and I've had to redo it like 3 or 4 times, because I'll watch it back and I'm like, nobody's going to understand what I'm saying. I'm just going to put the code out there and be like, hey, try yourself.
It's like picking up a new language. You just got to keep listening over and over and over and over again. Finally, you pick it up. Like it's, that's kind of how this stuff works, I think, in a way.
Yeah, and a lot of like what I did was what they call like if you ever go on Windows and the command prompts, so one part of it is like a command prompt bat file. The other one is Python. So I used Python language. So I'm trying to like explain how to use Python and just like, man, like this is really, really complicated for people. So I'm going to try not to confuse the crap out of people tonight.
Awesome. You're fine. I think people are more having fun about me muting. That's the thing tonight.
Somebody said, "Oh hell yes, talk about Python." I don't
See,
think
they want Python. Yeah, we got some programmers in the house.
programming language. It's complicated, but I think at the end of the day, like it was I was so hoping for a Magic Cloud file. Like I was hoping that they would just give us that Magic Cloud file, but now they don't have it.
Yeah.
Like this is the crazy thing is at first you're like, yes, it's on a first it was on the cloud, then it was on a hard drive, and now they just don't have it. So where is
Absolutely.
this?
Yeah.
And I like how Alan Jackson did actually break it out. So we did find out something really major on there where he did say, well, there's these proprietary types of files, but we don't have them. So we know that it's not the files that we were talking about before. So they definitely have like an MP4 or a .avi file, which is not a proprietary file in Equivision. So that's very enlightening. So where did all these Lally files go? Did they just disappear in the air? Because they were there.
It's wild. It's wild. And the judge just lets them get away with it over and over and over again. Do you want to play some of the video and like we can comment on it as we go along? Like, we'll play it. If you want me to stop it, just like, just give me the signal and we'll kind of go through some of this.
Yeah, I can actually, let me see if I can actually do, or maybe I'll just send you the file that I have.
Will you have another video tonight?
No, I just wanted to show you the file that actually was a Lally screen file.
I see. Yeah. Do you have it in PDF or something like that? Or like a slide?
I have this that you can pull up. So I'm just going to put, because I don't want to screw up your screen share, but I just put this to you on Twitter. So this is I just sent it to you. So these are the files that were on day 20.
Where did you send them?
I just sent it to you via X.
On what?
On X.
Oh,
I just
Twitter.
sent you the image.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
those are the Lally.
I can't get there from here. I'm not in the right browser. I'm not logged in.
Okay, hold on. Let me see if I can pull it up on my end.
Yeah, if you can put it on the screen,
don't
that'd be
mind.
better. Or even in the private chat on the right.
Here's.
Oh, you got it. Hold on.
So these are basically the magic files, I call them. So right here we have, so this is the one I think that was played in court, which was the EXE. But if we see these other naming conventions like exe.ps, which isn't actually like a natural naming convention either. So why is there a .ps then an exe in front of it? So this is where I think that these were converted. But we see the times. There's 12 a.m. to 12 a.m. That would be the 28th. So that's a whole day. And then we have 5 p.m. to 12 a.m. And this is a EXE. And then this one's a PS, which is the interesting part. So this is a 12 a.m. to 5:30. So we have these files that all are Equivision files, theoretically.
Wow.
So they're saying that they don't have these files. So where are these files in general?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, you see times on it, 5 p.m. to 12 a.m., 129.
Yeah, and even more interesting, if you look at some of these naming conventions, this is a .ps file that I'm telling you that's like editable. Like they're actually not easy to be replaced, but if you know what you're doing, you can replace them.
Yep.
So it almost looks like, we have interior Sallyport back wall. So this is what was played. And in GM, this goes by GMT time. So theoretically, this should be like 5:30 to 12 a.m. that day. But it's weird there's only this, but then we have O'Keefe, Sally Port. So these kind of look like almost case management files, which is what we're talking about, where you can create like a PS and then edit it. And that's where you can like re-import it and export it as an EXE. So that's kind of the workflow that I'm talking about. Hopefully I'm not confusing the crap out of anybody. But yeah.
It's interesting to see the files right there, you know?
And that was on, and that's like what I call like the Lally kind of screw up. That was day 20. So they do have the files. They had them at one point. So where did the magic files go?
Yeah. Where did they go? There's a comment here. What do you think about this comment?
So it's the .ps is a proprietary type. So there are .ps files that are PostScript files, but this technically isn't a PostScript file. It's confusing because initially when I got into Equivision, I thought the same thing. I'm like, oh no, this is actually a file type. So it's more of a proprietary file type, and the PostScript really connects to another thing, another metadata pointer called a PSI, which is basically the file that points to it to play in the player. So it's not as opposed to like a .psx, which is where it has the player embedded in the file. This basically has another pointer file, like a .psx file, that not .psi file that will make it play in the player. So It's like almost like outside the container, which is why it's easier to be edited because it's not embedded inside.
Exactly. So you can that could definitely be edited.
And you can alter the PSI file with Python script, which is why I have one command that basically re-encodes the .ps file, and then it will also re-encode the .psi pointer so that the other point script file that points to it, and that's what the Python file changes. So it looks like it's all nice and pretty if anything's changed.
Yeah. Now this Michael Morrissey, it came out that one of his emails was like cheesy banana. Did you hear that?
No. Tell me about that. What is
one
that?
of his? He had two private emails with apparently. Let me make it look at my notes and make sure I said it right. Something is banana. I want to make sure. Oh, man, I had it from last night, but I think that's what it was. Cheesy banana. It's one of the emails that they're trying to get at.
Maybe cheesy banana is a code word or something.
And that's the email address he uses to communicate with people, apparently. Yeah. So the chat is saying I'm right. Yes, it was cheesy banana.
That's odd. I think the whole thing is sketchy. The whole thing is super sketchy.
Yeah.
And even this week was just, I thought
I kind of even get grossed out thinking about like cheesy banana, like on every level, whether you're being a perv or you just straight up just looking at it as cheese.
I wanted to say that.
Like,
kind of sounds like a
either way,
thing
it's just
to say.
not good. Either way, it's like, what's he talking about? Like, how do you come up with cheesy banana?
I mean, it kind of sounds like a weird, old man thing, like weird old man talk.
Yeah, yeah. I'm old and I wouldn't talk like that. I mean, I think of it like more like 5-year-old talk, like 5-year-old boys on the schoolyard. You know what I mean? Like,
maybe it's just like a weird, I don't know, weird old man pervert talk. That's weird though. He has an email called Cheesy Banana.
Email, yeah. And he's using it for like official business apparently because they
Really?
they want to see what's on his cheesy banana emails. He's got 2 of them apparently.
What is it? Cheesy Banana 1 and Cheesy Banana?
I know. I mean, what are we doing here? These people are.
I don't even get how this is still going on. This is crazy.
I know. And she's going after the defense. Judge bias. Let's play some of this. Let's play some more. I want to watch some of this. I want to see what you think when we're playing it because I think, and then maybe we'll have time for phone calls too if people want to call in.
Yeah.
You want to take calls? Yeah, we'll see if we can get some of that going too.
So we asked for clarification. Ms. Little sent an email saying, I'm confused. Now you're talking about something that looks like a much more formal system called the department's, the CPD video file system. So we want, that's fine, no problem, download the videos, but we want the metadata and the log files that are associated with that. If it's on a formal file system, it's going to have metadata for the upload, for any access to the data, and for the download. We want the metadata and the log files as well. And that's the key entirely to the audit trail that we're interested in. Historically,
That makes sense, doesn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, which they're not good, which those, especially the EXE files, would have all that metadata in them.
Yeah.
Unless they were changed, which.
Unless you don't want someone to see them.
Yeah, or again, like when I was talking about swapping those streams. And so say you did have like a tampered Equivision file, the moment that you press authenticate, it would just crash the system.
Yeah.
You would know that it's not real. And you could actually even send it to Equivision and be like, hey, is this tampered with? Because it's very proprietary. And
Yeah.
they would see a code in that video of their proprietary decoding it, encode and decode that would throw it off. And they'd be like, yeah, this is 100% tampered with. Which is why I don't think that they're ever going to get those files.
I gotta ask for a ruling from the audience in my chat right now because I was muted for like a half a second there. Does that count against me, or is my perfect? Am I still perfect?
I think you're still perfect.
All right. Well, you're the guest. You're gonna say that. The audience will really tell us, and my mods. They're the ones controlling the award. Oh, sorry.
we have been asking for videos, for all this video surveillance to be preserved and provided for about 3 years. And this has been one of the centerpieces of this litigation. When we asked for that additional metadata and the log files, Mr. Brennan, in my opinion, took an odd position, which is, nope, we had an agreement. We met right back there in that room. We said that you could videotape the download of the videos. You don't get anything else. If you want anything else, go to court and file a motion, which is why we had to file this motion. We don't think that it was necessary. This is metadata that is literally in the Commonwealth's possession as we speak. They have it. We're entitled to it. It's simple. That's all we're asking for.
Abby, what do you think the only explanation is that they don't want to give, if indeed, which I believe, they don't want to give the metadata? Why wouldn't they want to give the metadata?
Because it will show that it's tampered with. It's the only way that you can do what I'm talking about is if you re-encode the file. And if it was, you can't do with an EXE. So like I think that proprietary type of file is going to have information that's going to be a little bit more damning. If they did, again, like the origin file is, they first exported as .ps, did a little After Effects, did a little Premiere, encoded the file with FFmpeg, did a little bit of Python and the PSI, like the pointer file, re-imported it, exported it as an EXE. Like all that information is going to be in there. They don't want that metadata seen because if that metadata is seen and it shows that it's been tampered with, it's all game off because you can't explain it. It wouldn't be like having an MP4 file, say, oh, well, that could have happened for this. Like they're proprietary file types. If you mess with one of those files, it's intentional. Like that takes a lot of like thoughtfulness and time to do. So that's where it's important. If they can get those hands on the files, like it will show intent. It's not just like, oh, here is the MP4, maybe it was just bad encoding. Like in order to tamper with those files, like you have to do a lot of steps to do it. Well, not a lot, but like 3 or 4 steps to be able to make it play. And those files too, like you can literally send it to the software, well, not software, but like the video company Equivision, and they have engineers that can reverse engineer it because they actually have the proprietary code. And if anything is off, like game over. Like it will show that it's tampered with. It's not like an MP4 where you could tamper with it, but you might not be able to prove it. But that you could definitely prove, if that makes sense.
Thank you, Glamour Sue. She says, it's Video Jesus. I am not worthy. Hey, Abby.
Hopefully I'm not confusing it.
No, you're not.
Mr. Brennan referred to the video files being placed on Canton Police Department detective file, which is yet another name for where this mysterious video may be held. And we said, it's easy to get the metadata. Let's just do a quick forensic image. It'll take less than a day. And all we want is the metadata for the 24-hour period, 23 hours and 59 minutes to be exact. And we don't need to file the motion. The first question I have is, why would the Commonwealth even object to this? It doesn't seem like something that they would want to object to. This is in their possession. They know that they've got it or they've got access to it. Why wouldn't we get it? These videos, again, have been a pain point for this case. These videos have been a pain point for this case for time immemorial, since the beginning of the case. We've been demanding that footage from 2022, January 29th, 2022. We were told explicitly on December 12th that no footage existed when we went out and had an expert look at the DVR. Their analyst actually called Mr. Brennan when our expert, who was on the floor at Canton PD, asked, are there any original files that are in the possession of Canton PD? The analyst went, I think her name was Colleen Crawford. It was Colleen Crawford. She went and called Mr. Brennan, according to our analyst. Mr. Brennan then informed Ms. Crawford to tell our expert, get it from the defense. Whatever, if you want original files, get it from the defense, knowing full well that we don't have it. If we had it, we wouldn't be there. And then it was that same day that miraculously the Canton Police Department revealed that, in fact, it did have some video footage on this either iCloud or video system. We take the position very clearly that this is Brady information, it's exculpatory information. The audit trail is also Brady and exculpatory, because the audit trail will tell us information that we won't otherwise have from the raw video. How did the footage end up on the system? When did the footage end up on the system? Who put it on the system? How many times has it been accessed? Has it been accessed at all? Has it been altered? Has it been manipulated? Has anything been deleted? Those are all data points that will be embedded in the metadata and the log files. The only way to answer those questions is for us to get it. That's all. And that's all we were asking of Mr. Brennan. We are surprised that he would object to that, because we would think that, in point of fact, he would want those same data as well. Mr. Brennan made a point of saying, when he first came on this case, look, we want to give Ms. Reed a fair trial. We want to be as transparent as possible. And my hope is that was not just lip service for the media. I don't know why the Commonwealth would object to this. There's no reason to object to it. They have it. We want it. And now we're asking for the court to order it. I'll submit.
Mr. Brennan.
It seems like another effort to portray some type of injustice wrought upon the defense, that half the facts are left out of the presentation. So to talk about reality, the reality is that I invited them to come download the DVR, NVR, where they full well knew that I had no idea if there was still video on there, and why would there be 3 years later. And after they filed a motion making representations that weren't accurate, I no longer had the confidence to have off-the-record agreements with the defense. There has to be a certain level of confidence that when you have an agreement and you try to help the other side, that the memory of the discussion is going to be portrayed accurately. And in losing confidence, the best way to practice for discovery is motion. And yet the court asked me to meet with the defense after court, and I will always honor the court's request. So because of your order, we met with the defense. Now, as a matter of background, when they came out to look at the DVR, there was no motion. That was by invitation. It wasn't lip service. It wasn't trying to spin a story for the media. It was a good faith effort to accommodate the defense to an entitlement that they weren't actually entitled to. I didn't go on the 12th and speak to the police officers because we were here on Dr. Russell. I went after because I wanted to know more about the cameras. I had never visited the station. I wanted to know about the process, and I wanted to ask firsthand anybody that was there about the process because I wanted to do due diligence. And when I met with the chief and other officers, I was told by a retired sergeant who was there, DGM Petro, that he was the officer who would download video upon request. He never downloaded a 24-hour period. He was never asked to. There was never a motion to. When the government would ask, or state police would ask for a download of a particular event, like the Sallyport area, he would download it. And what he told me is that that is on the DVR, an independent unit that has all the metadata and the logs if it still survives time. He said when he would download it, he then had his own hard drive at his office, and there was different files. One was called detective file because he's a detective. And he'd simply click and drag a copy of whatever he filed or copied for the government or the state police before. It wasn't a full accounting of all the metadata or all the video. It was whatever he decided to copy because he was asked to copy it. And so I thought, well, there's more information that exists. It's not going to be a 24-hour period. It's probably going to be cumulative, but I wouldn't know unless I looked. Now, the stand.
Let's stop there. What do you think, Abby? About what he's saying here? Jesus Christ, what a joker.
I mean,
Drag
he's not
and
even
click.
answering the real question.
Yeah, there's no metadata because the DVR got re-recorded, but there is metadata
Yeah.
in that drive, whatever the drive is right?
Yeah, well, because you'd have a backup drive. Like, it's called archiving. Like, you're not going to archive on an NVR, which they keep calling it a DVR, but it's actually like an NVR. It's a hybrid NVR, so it's like made for network IP cameras, which is also, I mean, I don't think that's correct either. So I think if there was an archiving system, like it's actually on, like there's probably network drives set up to store certain data points. I think they have it. I know that they have it. And they definitely had it at trial. So where is that? And why don't they want them to see it? Because all of those exe files, the .psx files, the .ps files, like they should have got that the moment the Sallyport was played in court. Yet we know from Alan Jackson that they never got those types of files. So where are they? Because they were played apparently, unless this was literally just a screenshot, desktop video, which I said was like, theory B. Maybe they didn't change any of the files. Maybe like what we saw in court was just, a superimposed image in the player, which is something, you can do in After Effects too. So they either have the files or they don't have the files. And if they don't have the files, then, I mean, this whole thing should just be thrown out. And they're not, and the most ridiculous argument I think that I can even see through this whole thing is that they're not entitled to it. They're not entitled to it. They are entitled to the original files. That is the most ridiculous argument that I've ever heard. Especially because these files were played mid-trial, especially the whole Sallyport thing. It was definitely inverted, and not even just inverted, oh, it might have just been a bad camera, but the way the camera functioned, like I said, I did multiple tests on this camera. Like the highlights and the way that the camera functions with like low lighting and like more bright lighting, it doesn't make sense to what we saw. It looks highly edited. So when they say, oh, well, they're not allowed to have it, it's just the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Like, these are the files that were played in court. They should have the Lally files that I pulled up, but yet they don't have them.
Exactly. Let's play a little more of this.
The practice is the Commonwealth would then just ask the detective to download a copy, and we'd meet our Rule 14 obligations by providing it to the defense. It's as simple as that. The defense is entitled to know more. There's nothing mysterious about it. There's no hiding about it. There's no story. It's just video on the detective file on his hard drive. But I called the defense, not only due diligence, professional courtesy, to say, you are already involved in the process with the NVR DVR. I've already invited you to bring an expert. I want to download this information that he copied over time and give you a copy. And they said, we don't know how we feel about that. Can you wait? I did not want to wait. I don't want any video being overwritten or destroyed. It was against my judgment, but I was deferring to the defense request to wait. And now it has become part of the spirit of their argument of oppression that somehow there's something odd or miraculously hidden about this. It is simply video that the sergeant clicked and dragged to another file that we can go in, click and drag it to a hard drive, and give them a copy. After you asked us to speak in the back room, the 6 of us were there. We had a conversation. we said we would simply copy the video, and then as another measure, which was unnecessary, we'd actually videotape it. Now, we did that because the defense wanted us to, and also it seems if it's on videotape, it can limit baseless allegations later, so we were happy to do it. And then when we got back to the office, the request changed. Under the spirit of Brady violations and due process, it was suggested that we were supposed to engage now in a different process, and that was metadata. I don't even know if the detective file has metadata. I don't actually know exactly what they're looking for. It is a simple click and drag process. Whatever video exists with the sergeant.
That's not how metadata works.
Do you believe this? I mean, this guy is still saying that he doesn't know anything about metadata, that they didn't ask for it, or I mean, he's just basically lying, right? I mean, yeah, he's lying. He's not honest.
I mean, literally, these files come with what they call like an XML. So the XML like has the timestamps, has different metadata points in it. It also and this is why you need at least even if they had the .ps file, which again is not the one, is the one file that will play in Equivision. That it doesn't necessarily have the player embedded, but it does have pointer files, like outside pointer files and outside the container. But that's the metadata. These are especially because they're proprietary types of files. The metadata is wrapped into them. So for him to say that he doesn't understand metadata, that's a huge problem.
Do you think he's lying, or do you think he's just clueless? That's dumb.
I mean, it's hard to say. I think that he's kind of. I just think he's kind of dumb, but also because I mean, at the end of the day, even if you don't have, again, you don't have these proprietary types of files, every video file has metadata.
Yeah.
Every video file has metadata. So
everything we do on any computer, phone, anything
has metadata attached to it. So when he says that they're not privy to, he doesn't know about what metadata is on the file, it's basic video metadata. But when it's a proprietary type of security camera, obviously it's going to have more. It's going to have log files. It's also going to have separate log files, which is going to be on the NVR and DVR. But the file, especially these types of proprietary files, have them embedded in the container XML files too. So that will have the time code, everything like that. So for him to say that he doesn't know the metadata, I don't know if he's just an idiot or if he just doesn't understand what he's talking about. But then again, he did say Magic XMP was a program. So
yeah, it's the magic files he's hiding. It's the thing too, he's so dishonest. In fact, they're just asking for it, and he's not saying he's going to do it. He should just say, okay, we'll give him the metadata. That's all he needs to say. Instead, he's sitting there pretending that it's their problem. They didn't ask the right way. They lied. They're being dishonest. I'm going along with everything, but saying that I'll give them the metadata. He's basically saying I'm going along with everything, but he never ever says I'm going to give you the metadata. Yeah, it's so disingenuous. To me, he's such a freaking fraud.
I think that he knows that this is the thing is I think he knows the metadata that's important, which is those three proprietary file types, the XEX, the .psx, and the .ps, because those will have the most metadata that will basically tell the whole story. And those are the ones that theoretically were played in court. They don't want to release those files because if they were tampered with, it's not I mean, again, if you have an MP4, it's not going to have as much information as one of these proprietary types of files will have, because you'll know if it's altered. You'll know who accessed the file. You'll have the creation date. You'll have very specific creation date added, date changed. I mean, there is a lot of different, what we call XMP tags that will be within that data set. And if they have those three types, that's a game changer. And they don't want to hand those over because, again, an MP4 doesn't really have that kind of information into it because it's not a proprietary type of file that is played within Equivision, which is, again, basically what is going to show all these logs or at least give some of that information if the outside logs. There's the logs with it that are embedded in the file, and there's also the log files which were conveniently deleted. So
Unbelievable.
I think that that's why they don't want to have them go through the computer system, because if they are on a server, like a server hard drive, and they are the original files, like those 3 types of files, they don't want anybody to see them.
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
that's the game changer.
Yep. And he knows it. He's full of it.
He knows it.
I don't know if there's any data. I don't know. Of course there's data. That's like the most asinine statement anyone could make. Like that. If you actually believe that, Hank, you shouldn't be a lawyer. Like seriously. In this day and age, it's 2025. It's not like it's 1994 and nobody knows. No. 2025. Everyone knows this metadata on everything.
Mm-hmm. And you know what's interesting to me is, why doesn't the defense have even the Sally Port that was played in court? They should have one of those 3 proprietary file types. And we know from Alan Jackson, during that hearing, he said they didn't have them. So why don't they have them?
I know. Crazy.
That's kind of because, again, they don't want anybody to see that metadata, because that's very proprietary metadata that will show alterations, little modifications.
Definitely.
That's my thoughts.
I want to thank our chats. I see Jen O and Sarah Chalk and Hara. They've posted some links. They posted earlier. We had Abby's links pinned to the chat at the top. We're going to share some other links too. I want to thank them for posting the links up all the time. There's also our membership and our merchandise and our Facebook group. So make sure you check out some of the links that they post. And they also always post our guest links too. So make sure you're following on Twitter, on Facebook, all those places. And you got a YouTube too, right, Abby?
I do, yes. So it's at CT Video Jesus. I'll put it in the chat.
Perfect. And I wasn't on mute. I'm doing good.
Needed to give them the only delay has been because they've asked for all these different accommodations and different styles of doing it. And so we want to meet our responsibility, download the videos, and simply give them to the defense. There's nothing else about this issue. It's that simple. And technically, we don't have any other obligation other than to download it. It seems as though when I extend courtesies and obligations, it becomes complicated. It's not a complicated process. So we'd like to finish our Rule 14, download the video, give it to the defense, and then they can make any commentary or argument they want about it.
How quickly can you do that?
I imagine we could do it one day, but today is, it'll be done by the end of the week.
You want to make, I'd be heard briefly,
Yes,
very, very briefly.
take your time.
Thank you. Mr. Brennan's confidence notwithstanding, I don't know what to say about that, pretty immaterial, what his level of confidence is. I'm more concerned about his obligations as the representative of the Commonwealth. And he really didn't talk about the metadata in his argument. He didn't talk about the metadata in his written presentation, his opposition, because he knows that we're entitled to it. That's all we're asking. One thing I really agree with him on, this is simple. This shouldn't be a fight. He's got video data. He's got metadata associated with that video data, and there's probably, maybe, log files. If there are, we're entitled to them, and he should want to give those over to us. He just indicated that this detective file, whatever it is a hard drive. Every electronic storage device has metadata on it. So even if it's a drag and drop, makes it sound super simple, that electronic drag and drop will have metadata associated with it. That hard drive, every time it's accessed and the data on it is accessed, also will have metadata. Euphemistically, it's called electronic fingerprints. Every single, whether it's a thumb drive, a hard drive, or a server, every one of them have metadata on it. So it's not difficult. We're interested in the videos, but we're also interested in the data that is behind the videos as well. And I wouldn't be nearly so concerned. And Mr. Brennan makes this argument, well, the defense is just up here, you know, again, pontificating about how they've been oppressed, I think is his word. Nobody's talking about oppression. We're talking about fairness. We have been told from day one, before the first trial ever started, Your Honor, this court recalls this. We don't have any further video evidence. Whatever videos we have, we've given them over to you. Then on April 4th, in the shadow of the trial starting, we get more video. Where did that come from? Then in the middle of trial, we get more video. Happens to be an inverted video. Where did that one come from? Then on October 24th, we get more video. This past October 24th, well after the trial, we get more video of Brian Higgins out at the location of CPD on his phone. Where are these dribs and drabs of video coming from? That's all we're asking. And Mr. Brennan should want
That
the...
October 24th,
Fourth.
did that video come with the metadata?
No. No, it's just video. It's a video file. And I'll also, that's a great point, Judge. When you have a hard drive that's storing video files, my understanding, again, I'm no expert. My understanding is that hard drive will likely have some sort of an EXE program, an executable program on it to play the video or to store the video. It'll also have potentially some sort of video player, maybe a proprietary player on it. And
Holy shit. Is he quoting you?
You should
Do
be
you think
quoting
he's
me.
quote- I
That's
think
exactly
he's
what I
quoting you
said.
from the show. I swear to God.
You see?
I gotta ask the
that's
audience:
you.
is Alan Jackson quoting Abby from our show? I think he might be. That is what he just said. Sounded like what you said on this show several times now.
It's exactly it. And that's what I mean when we're talking about these files that have the metadata in them. It's a .exe file that's proprietary to Equivision. And we know it was Equivision because that was played in court for the Sally Port. Or there's
I always expected him to say, "I'm not an expert, but I was watching Abby on the Young Jerks, and she said this." And that's what that's what it seemed like he was saying. That was amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was glad at least they picked that up because I think that's important to note because those are the files that actually have a lot of that data in them because, you know, you can have, again, like that .mp4, which is, again, when he says just a video file, that's what he's referring to, not these proprietary types that have the player embedded in them, which, again, that metadata of the files that have the player embedded in them have the log files, also have like video metadata of like, you know, like the creation date. They're very, very interesting to look at because if there was any modifications or alterations, you'd see it.
The
So I think
chat's
that
going wild right now. They're agreeing. They're saying you're amazing. That
Video
you need to be
Jesus.
cited next time. Next time they need to say your name when they're citing your work. Because I swear to God, that sounded like it was you, like the words coming out of his mouth. I'm glad they definitely do watch these shows and get info, and from the audience.
Yeah.
Just like they watch the Facebook groups too. It's amazing.
And then there's going to be the file. So that's what we're asking for. Let's fix the metadata associated with all those things. It's not a hard ask. It's not a heavy lift. There's no reason to justify, well, you know what, I'm just going to drag and drop this and you get the video and nothing associated with the video. That's all we're asking.
Any further response, Mr. Brennan?
Your Honor, there's no attempt to deprive the defendant of anything. In fact, historically, if we look back, we invited them to come to the actual hard drive and do it themselves, and they declined. So this isn't an issue where the government is trying to hide something or keep something from them. If there was obvious metadata, we would provide it, but I don't understand this is that type of system. So they're asking for certain things that I don't think we can accommodate. If they want to come, they're invited. If the court wants me to inquire of a retired sergeant detective about metadata, I'll do that. But the issue is going to become that when we drag and click these videos, and if there is no metadata or logs of what they say they're looking for, there's going to be yet another accusation. And I do not want to invite needless accusations when it's beyond our duty. Our duty is to provide the videos. What more can we do than to invite the defense themselves to come into the Canton Police Department and take a look at the system. So if there's something they want, then we'll copy it.
Okay. Thank you very much.
All right, that's that. A couple more questions came in here in the chat. Let me just see if I can catch up because a few questions. Let's see if we can take them one at a time. Then we'll try some calls too. Here's this one. What do you think about this one? Abby, what is raw data image scans from Aperture.
Mm-hmm.
Saw it a new Brennan discovery filing dated February 19th, item number 4.
Aperture. That's I believe that's like a hold on. I know this.
You can look it up. Let's look it up.
That's what I'm looking up. I haven't. It's probably something like a crap PS.
Yeah.
Oh wait, is he talking about? Oh god, oh my god, I hope he's not talking about Lightroom. I think that's what he's doing.
Yeah.
So
Is that a joke? Is that a joke question? Or are they being serious? I
oh
don't
my
know.
god, it's not Aperture that I'm talking about because so there's 3 different programs. So I believe that Aperture is actually like a Mac program.
Yeah.
It's think about Photoshop. How Photoshop has data in it. So there's I believe Aperture is
You're
correct
right.
me
It's
if I'm
developed
wrong,
by
Chad.
Apple. Yeah. It's a discontinued professional image organizer and editor developed by Apple between 2005 and 2015 for the Mac.
Oh god. I
Who's
really
got a
hope-
Mac? Well, who's got a MacBook?
I hope to God that they are not trying to present Aperture because this is the thing is I can go into Photoshop right now and open up an image and just change it. I can change the metadata of,
Yeah.
and that's just like that's on a Photoshop level. Like Aperture is not a professional, it is not a professional image forensic
Yeah.
program.
It's not even updated. It's not updated either. Even if it was at one time, it's not, So
I
definitely
mean,
not current.
and it's like if you're going to present files that are legit, like give me a filing with Phil Harvey's EXIF tool. Like give me some real data that I can look at, like in Aperture.
Crazy.
That's worse than Photoshop and Lightroom. That's terrible. I'm sorry, that was funny. Oh my god, I hope it's Aperture in the Apple.
Now, Glamasous says Aperture is the name of the company in Texas that is their expert. Who's expert? The prosecution? I don't know. I'm not sure. What kind of expert? I'd love to know, Glamasous. Let us know.
Yeah. I want to know. So it's an expert. It's like a company.
Yeah, this
They're
person
talking
was
about
asking
Uber.
about a file that was filed. So yeah.
Oh God, I hope it's Aperture, like the actual file and not an expert.
I
But if there
that's
is an expert,
yeah.
I want to look them up.
That's right. I did hear something about a new crash expert. Could be several companies with that name. But
I mean,
that
is a
question
pretty
was
common.
asking about a specific file, though. That's interesting.
I'll have to look at that afterwards.
Yeah,
and
we'll look at it.
I'll
We'll look it
answer
up.
in the comments.
Yep. So I listen to the chat. I'd like to see if there's anything new we can find out. Let's turn on the phones. I'm gonna see if I could get the phones hooked up. Take me one moment. Abby, promote yourself. Tell us about your Twitter because we pinned it in the chat again. So people want to follow you on Twitter and YouTube. Tell us about what's on there.
Yeah, sure. So my handle is on X at Abby ELIZABT. So that's usually what I've been going on is just like my Twitter, but I also just started a YouTube channel, which is, at CT Video Jesus. So I'm going to start putting up tutorials and things like that, and maybe even put up some nerdy stuff like Python script and maybe some command bat scripts.
Awesome.
To show the .ps files, but in case anybody's interested in that, like the real nerdy tech people. But I'll also put up some videos, again, that just showing how they edited some of the Sally ports. So just some more basic tutorials, like how they did the tail light when we saw the red, like the white tail light, how they did that in After Effects. So I'll have some different video tutorials on that as well.
Awesome. We're taking phone calls right now. 978-560-3155. If you want to ask a question or make a comment tonight on the show, especially if you want to talk about Brennan and his testimony or what Jackson was asking for, definitely give us a call. 978-560-3155. If you act quickly, you'll get in first. A lot of times people are 5 minutes behind. So the calls come in later. That's always the way. So if you're thinking about calling in, call in first. 978-560-3155. Let's check the chat too.
Can we also just admit that all Brennan did the whole time was just cry like a crybaby?
He is.
He was
He
just
is such a
accusing the
crybaby.
defense of like, I've
no,
been doing all this stuff and you haven't, I have been accused of. It's like, yo, you were asking for a simple thing.
Hi.
It was crazy.
I think you're on the show. Can you hear us? I guess not. It's not working right now. Let me disconnect and reconnect. Sometimes that does that. Says it's connected. It's not ringing. Oh, there it goes. Hold on. It's working now. Hi. You're live on the show. Are you watching in the background?
Yeah, I'll turn it down.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, who's calling?
Hey, Mike and Jess. My name's Kathy. I'm from Arizona.
Hi, Kathy. What are your comments or questions tonight?
I just wanted to know what I'm reading so much stuff on what everybody thinks happened in court the other day, talking about pulling all the court cops into a meeting into the federal building, etc., along with Bev for some administrative shit that went down. What do you think about that?
I haven't been able to confirm any of that. That seems like it's a rumor on Twitter. People, I think, are reading into things more than they should. I mean, people are pointing out a guy in court that was a court worker and saying he was a Fed. He wasn't a Fed. So, I mean, I think people are just hoping for things.
No, I get it. I guess it's the guys in the back in the white shirts and the black ties.
Those are court.
They got vested.
Yeah, those are court workers, and I think unless you see it on Turtle Boy, then it's not happening. Wait. If something's like that happening, he's going to confirm it.
Yeah.
Do you have any comments about what we're talking about tonight with Abby in the video?
I would love to comment. I have no idea what she's talking about. She's so smart. I wish I could.
Well, let me ask you this question. Do you buy that Hank Brennan doesn't know about the metadata?
Oh, hell no. Oh, hell no. He knows what he's talking about. He's just playing a dummy.
Absolutely.
Yeah. He's playing dumb. He's a smart man. He knows exactly what he's talking about.
Definitely.
But you guys are awesome. You're awesome together. Abby, your laugh is infectious, and you're smart as a whip. And I hope we get to see you on a bunch of shows. So thanks, Mike. It was great talking with you.
Thank you so much, Kathy. Thanks for bringing that up too. Yeah, free Karen Reed. And I think it's fine that she brought up that kind of rumor going around. Who knows? Maybe there is something to it. But I'm just saying, we don't know. We don't want to run with something that we don't know. But you never know. Sometimes rumors turn out to be true. You never know. So nothing surprises me. Like there's so much, especially with what happened yesterday in court. She did overreact. I get why people are so skeeved out because it's like, what is going on with this judge, Hey, you're live on the show. Who's calling?
Hey, Mike. Hey, Abby. It's Greg up in New Hampshire. How you doing?
Greg from New Hampshire. What's going on? What do you think about yesterday?
Well, I got some things got some points I can probably help you or give you more stuff to ponder with. For the audience, and I have a lot of experience. I don't do it for a living, but I did at one point. DVRs are digital recorders, right? NVRs are on the network for a building like the police department, the library, your government buildings. Nowadays, these things the manufacturers that make these things, they look like a VCR. Every one of them, of the main brands, use a hard drive just like is in your home computer. So at the very least, And many of the remote cameras, and I have both here. I've got Bosch varieties and Honeywell Hike Vision, which is a Chinese version of it. But I access these things on the computer. You do have to set parameters. You know, I can set a day in this. I can export it to a USB. And just as Abby describes, the file format that these things are native to each manufacturer, right? So when they're recording in their own thing, they do a 265 native format and a smart codec for H.264, which is, as she describes, common right through the video landscape. So these individual cameras, it can even have micro SD cards in them. So I in my application, in one of my properties, I have this thing with a micro SD that's recording, but you can also share that at the same time with the device that's going to pull them all together. That's what Hank's talking about, the NVR, network video recorder, right? So when you went through, if they did this properly, there are a couple ways to do it. And people have mentioned that you can just put on a legal hold and put markers on the hard drive, right? That don't erase this. And the other way to do it is image the freaking thing, take the hard drive out and put another $100 hard drive in it. Now the hard drive's out of the machine and you have your evidence and you can, and everyone can share the image of that manufacturer. And if you want, you go out and you buy these things, you know, they can be a few $1,000 on the high end, but you can get very good ones for under $1,000. And you can play and export and do all that, but you'd at least know it. So all of this is double speak. They're obviously covering up. And this is, just some kind of ridiculous thing. But every manufacturer is a little bit different. And as Abby said, I've even my one network camera that I tested this on before I called in, it does export to an MP4, but that MP4 will not play on like my Vegas video. I can't even play it, even though it's an MP4. So there's something funny about their export. I actually had to do a screen capture of the MP4 when I played it. My Bosch network video recorder, it will export with an EXE type file that it packages their video with associated files so it can be played. But if you try to monkey with it, it doesn't really work. You have to play it from that thing and then maybe do a screen capture or something like this to get it. But of course, I'm not doing evidence for a murder trial, right? I'm just playing around.
Yeah.
But you get these guys, and the motion activate, I can tell you as a security professional at one point in my life, that did this sort of thing. The last place you would do motion activated thing is a Sally port. Okay. And you just don't do it. I mean, what is the cost? What are you saving by having motion activated? Because I'll tell you, when you have a big field of view, all these cameras in the modern era, and I mean the last 10 years and plus, you have to specify what area you want to seek motion in.
Yeah.
And you want the coverage in. So if you got a wide field of view, and some of these cameras will do 360-degree look. Yeah. And you see them frequently at the restaurants. They look like a little very They will look in 360 degrees in there, and they'll stitch the images together. Very fancy, fancy stuff going on in the background there. But at the end of the day, okay, there could be little SD cards in there and their network cameras. There's certainly a hard drive, just like the hard drive at home. Either the hard disk or the 2.5 inch or the 3.5 inch disk in there that are the same ones you buy at Best Buy. Okay. And that go into these things. And the magic happens with the electronics in those proprietary NVRs. That's what's writing the video and the compression in there. And you can put, even with 32 camera system, you can put a whole chunk on a 2 terabyte hard drive. You can put a ton of video on there.
Definitely.
That's the magic is.
Yeah.
That's
and they're small too. The compression's smaller.
Exactly. Greg, I got to ask you a question. We were playing this video earlier from Alan Jackson in court. Did you see that when I think he's quoting Abby?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Do you think he quoted Abby? Do you think he was?
It sounded that way. Well, look, I'm one of these guys you won't find on the, in the space, but I've been hog watching all the stuff, and awesome. You guys do a great job. All of you do a great job out there. So I'm like the poor man's man out there. I'm watching and enjoying what you all are doing. I did watch it. I do think, again, the wording is similar, and like Bettero, who just is so outraged, I think, and he doesn't come off that way, but I think in his own skin, he's outraged at this whole situation. And of course, there's a ton of great information being put out by you folks, all across the board, little dribs and drabs. And that's why I wanted to call in and contribute, because I haven't heard anyone from the space of the actual hardware that's mounted in these things. And Lally, drag and drop. No. I have to go in and say on this date, at this time, down to the second, okay, here's my start, here's my stop.
Exactly.
Export.
Export it. Yeah. Even I know that.
Yeah.
Even I know that. Greg, you're a phenomenal caller. I love this call. This is so good. Greg from New Hampshire. You got to call again.
Yeah, you want. All right. Well, we'll let y'all go. Yeah. But have fun. We're watching.
Awesome. That was a good call. That was really. He's fired up. We'll take more calls too, I guess. I mean, I could have kept him long. I think maybe he thought I wanted to move on, but I liked him. We could have kept on with him.
I like having somebody in the space that knows exactly, kind of like the whole system and process of it.
Yeah, he was fired up too.
I like having somebody in a space that knows exactly, kind of like the whole system and process.
Yeah, when you call in, you have to turn off your computer or whatever you're watching on, please. That was like the loudest one so far. They're calling again. This is our friend from Mexico, I think. Oh, no, we lost this call. I'm not calling back Mexico. I don't know about that one. But call back. It just turned down whatever you're watching on. 978-560-3155. I like Greg from Mexico. Greg from New Hampshire. That was a good call.
Yeah, that was a good call.
Yeah. I like that he brought up Bettero, too. Bettero made a post on Twitter today. He's working. He's letting us know. He's giving us some hints.
Hello?
Hi, who's calling?
It is Mexico City.
Is this my buddy from Mexico City you called a few times?
Yep.
What do you got for us tonight?
I think you're getting too far into the minutia just because I think what happened is they took the data off the DVR or whatever, copied it somewhere, and if they're willing to plant taillight pieces, that's gone forever. But that's not the big issue. The big issue is who took the video off. Hank Brennan was lying about the metadata. It was like when Bettero was talking to you months ago. Somebody did it. They should be able to say, hey, who was the person who copied it over? What did you do? Get them on the stand and question them. And then if they take the fifth, it's all over.
Well,
I don't think we're going to ever find that metadata.
I think we have that person. They
Find
said,
that metadata.
They said the person. They said that sergeant has the data, so he's got to be the one who clicked it over. And it's got to be him.
I just wonder
the point is, like, the defense would never be able to, like, forensically analyze the entire system. Like the FBI would have access logs at who touched every file and when. I don't know if the Massachusetts State Police have that or they have it in Canton or whatever. But the whole point is he's kind of deflecting and saying, like, I can't create this magic log. I bet there is no log. They would have deleted it if they were willing to plant taillight pieces. But they're kind of obfuscating from the fact somebody did it. And they don't want to come out and tell the name who was the person, because then they can start saying, we need to subpoena this person for information. That's what he's deflecting from. I don't think the metadata exists anymore if they were willing to plant taillight pieces.
Abby, what do you think?
I think that they have it, but it'll never be found. It's kind of like the magic cloud file that was supposedly on the cloud, but now it's on a hard drive. But where's the hard drive? But we're going to image it. I can guarantee you, when even just this past hearing, we're going to hear next time that they went and they downloaded the footage and it was like an MP4 file. Here's the thing. We saw in court in the Lally files that these files that are very specific with the specific metadata that is needed, they could very well have logs, log files in them. They will have like all that XMP data that we need. We know that they had them at some point, and we know that they were on a drive. I do believe that they're still somewhere. I think that if they at least got, again, maybe like they could like, go into the actual servers of the police servers. Will that happen? I don't know.
Yeah.
But you could theoretically like go in and maybe if they get, again, like a, like a motion to, like a discovery of just going in and trying to forensically, go in and like recover the drives. I think they could do that. It might still be on the servers. As far as the NVR and DVR, that's a different one because I do believe that it was probably wiped. But even if it was wiped, you might still be able to recover it. The only problem is that if it was overwritten so many times, some of those files can get corrupted, like even if you try to recover them. But you can't image the drive. I think that should be the next step too, is trying to get into those servers, see if they can go into the servers and actually physically search the server drives or be able to, again, image the actual NVR itself.
Yeah, and also the cloud. It seems like that sergeant downloaded stuff too, so his cloud too, like that. There's got to be data there as well, right?
Well, yeah. Well, where is this cloud? They haven't even
but the
manufactured the cloud. Like, what is this cloud? Is it an iCloud? Is it
exactly
the server
and I
cloud?
think you both make good points because I think that who mirrored the video? You know what I mean? Is it Colleen Crawford? Was it that sergeant that keep bringing up his name from the Canton Police, or was it someone else that we don't know about? I mean, that is actually, I think it's an interesting point, but I also think there is definitely data because there's multiple places that could be data, like we're talking about. There are internal DVRs, there are, internal network, whatever VRs, or that guy's Google Cloud, if that's where it's all coming from. Like wherever it's coming from, there's got to be some data. I appreciate your call. Well, what do you think? Let me ask you this too.
Yeah, but
Go ahead. Go.
the problem is they're intentionally hiding it. The only way you can find what drive it was on is to get access to the entire system and forensically analyze it. They're never giving that to the defense. The feds could get it if they're still investigating, come in, seize it, scan it all, look for stuff. Even if stuff gets deleted, it has to be deleted multiple times to truly be gone. But they're never going to give the defense the right to search the MSP computers like that. It's just not going to happen. So if they refuse to turn it over, all you can do is try to find the person who actually did the transfer and get them to break on the stand.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, and hopefully the judge actually stands up to them, and because this is the stuff that normally a judge would cause them to throw out the charges on. If you're not going to let them look at the evidence, then dismiss the charges. You know what I mean?
There was one thing not turned over in the Alec Boblin case, and they dismissed it with prejudice and said this is bullshit bullets that might not have even been connected. We have multiple videos not turned over, inverted videos. They lied on different stuff. Like she didn't show 1/10 the emotion for all of those clear violations that she acted with when this last one that we're all debating what it is.
Exactly. That's what's
It should have been dismissed because of malfeasance already.
Yeah, she should have.
And maybe on appeal.
Yeah, she should have gotten so bad. Like she got so mad yesterday. She should have done that to the prosecution with the, mirrored video. At least that.
Yeah.
In the middle of the trial.
Right. In front of the jury. In front of the freaking jury.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy. And the media, the Boston media, is just asleep. They're focusing on what happened yesterday with Alan Jackson. They're not talking about any of it. I mean, there's been even allegations that the witnesses changed their testimony based on discovery that the defense gave the prosecution. I mean, this shit is just, it goes on and on like this. The prosecution is playing so dirty, and they've been caught at it over and over again, and the judge does nothing about it. Judge doesn't get mad. It does make you wonder. I see why people think the feds are coming this week. I mean,
I hope so.
It's crazy. I mean,
we need a hallelujah.
Really. Thank you for calling from Mexico City.
I got one more thing if you got time.
Quickly.
Yeah, quickly. Turtle Boy's interview with the juror.
Yes.
It came out they did assume that maybe it was the insurance company or Turtle Boy. Karen Reed has a constitutional right to an accurate defense. Now that we know that, they should be making motions that she has every right to tell them that the ARCA experts, it's already been shown to be prejudiced against her. Like, they were worried it might prejudice the prosecution if it was told they were the feds. Now we have clear evidence that it was prejudiced against her. And when you're on fighting for your life, that's where your First Amendment rights matter the most. The idea she can't tell them simply, we didn't hire them, the feds did. The fact the jury is denied that information just blows my mind, and they got to start making motions to let her tell the truth about who hired the experts. That's all I got.
I agree with you 100%. Thank you for calling from Mexico City.
It's
Appreciate
ridiculous.
We're the Young Jerks. You can call in 978-560-3155. We got a good amount of people watching tonight. They want to talk about the video, the data, missing data. You got a comment about it? You want to ask a question? Good time to do so. We got a local call. Go from Mexico City back to Massachusetts. Who's calling? Hi.
Hey. Hey, it's Greg. Hey, Mike, how are you?
Good, Greg.
Hey, just wondering if you have any info on a couple things that seem to be making the rounds online. The court officers being summoned to the Moakley building. Do you know anything about that?
No. I keep hearing this rumor, but I haven't been able to confirm anything. Has Turtle Boy reported on it?
Okay. I don't think I've seen him. I have been checking, but no, I haven't seen him do it. That's why I wondered.
I always wait for him
it.
because if there's any truth to it, we'll find out tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like if
Yeah.
there's any truth to it,
Yeah.
he's typing it up right now. He's like, so
Yep.
I just
exactly.
Yeah.
And
I haven't heard
real
anything.
quick, another thing. What's with the what's the stuff about people going to in Philadelphia? I mean, have you heard about that? Witnesses or something showing up in Philadelphia? I don't even know what it is.
A lot of rumors going around. I haven't heard that one. Why would they be going to Philadelphia? Why Philly?
I don't know. I think it was Sean in the Gulf.
Oh, God.
Final.
I
don't know.
Ask Sean on the
But it was
golf if Michael
interesting.
Proctor's been fired yet. I love Sean, but come on. I mean, you gotta come on. And you know what? Like he's been saying the feds are coming for friggin' a year plus. I mean, I think the feds are coming. He's right. He's got a point on that. I mean, the feds have come. They've dropped the TUI report. There's definitely still stuff going on. I know that for a fact. But just sometimes people need to calm down a little bit. Like let's wait till we actually get confirmation on stuff before. But I appreciate the call. Do you have any other comments about this video stuff we're talking about? The data, Abby. Do you think Alec Jackson quoted Abby in court?
Oh, man. Yeah, well, they need somebody like Abby to go through this and to dig all that stuff up. I know they attempted to and all, but this should just be dropped. Just drop it. Like, Bev, come on. It's time. Just drop it.
Yeah, seriously. It's ridiculous at this point that she hasn't dropped it, that she didn't get mad about the Sally Port video that was introduced, mirrored in front of the jury.
I know. She should be judging dog shows, not murder trials.
Probably more accurate.
I know some dog people that would be upset. They wouldn't want her as a judge there either.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that'd be a disservice to the dogs.
I know.
That was a good comment.
Well, hey,
you got me laughing.
I love your show.
Thank you, Greg. You're Greg.
Good.
We had two Gregs tonight, and they were both great. Thank you so much, Greg. You made me laugh my ass off.
That's good.
What is it?
All right. Well, thanks, Mike. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I love the dog show stuff. That was hilarious.
That was good.
Thank you, Greg. Oh man, so funny.
That was funny.
Oh, now looks like we got Virginia. Maybe we got a Virginia caller. Who's calling?
This is Michelle from Virginia. How you doing, Mike?
Say that again. I didn't get that. Michelet?
Yes, how you doing?
Yeah, you've called before, right?
Yes, I have. So I might be wrong about this, but I really think it might be Helena who's behind them videos.
Ah, you never know. She's the one who answers the FOIA request.
Remember, right, and remember how they said that Helena had brought it to the courthouse or somewhere? It was something that was said towards those lines. I think she's in on that too.
Wow, that's a good point. It could be Helena. Helena Rafferty.
That's what I think. Yeah.
Wow.
She's got her hands in a lot of stuff. And any two times you'll hit somebody and then won't speak up, you'll deliver inverted videos.
Yeah. And Helena might be a part of. I have a feeling Helena is going to be a lightning rod in this Canton Select Board race. If you've been watching that, I think that her contract is going to be a campaign issue. I'm just suspecting. What do you think about that?
It definitely is.
Yeah.
I do. I feel everything that you're saying with that, and it's just a matter of time. Everybody. I mean, I know it's at Karen's expense, but patience is a virtue. And their time is coming, and I'm a firm believer in that. Their time is coming. This is going to come to a head. And as far as Bev go at that court the other day, she wasn't shaken because of what Brennan said. She was shaken because of that motion that was filed, that now they're going to have to look at her closely. All this is coming. It's coming to a head. Mark my words.
It sure is. That's a great point about Helena Rafferty, that it could be Helena. That's such a, I think you have a, yeah, because it definitely could be. She seems like she's involved in a lot.
Yeah. There's something weird going on about that.
And
Excellent. Hey, you have any other comments today, Michelle?
no, that was it. That's all I wanted to say. And free Karen Reed, and y'all be safe out there.
You too. Thank you so much for calling tonight.
You're welcome. You have a good one.
You too. Wow, we got some great callers.
Yeah.
A lot of callers tonight. And we still got a little time. So 970. Oh, another one calls it. This is another. Oh, I love these. I love 617 callers. That's old school.
Right?
Hey, you're live on the show. Who's calling?
Jimmy from Brookline.
Jimmy from Brookline. What do you have for us tonight? What do you think?
Yeah, a couple comments and a couple questions, if you don't mind. I mean, first of all, AJ was 100% quoting Abby, for the record. And I would also say that I'd be interested in your comments or thoughts on. It seems to me like there's this pretty serious disconnect in terms of, I don't know if you call it nomenclature or terminology, between the attorneys and the judge, right? Like, I mean, we all know Brennan can barely spell MP4, right? I don't think Bev knows what metadata actually is, right? And then the big lead to here is like, all right, so eventually, let's say, we get to the point where some of this stuff is entered and it's the attorney's presenting this to the jury. This has to get broken down in some form or fashion where it's really understandable to people who have a very low baseline level of knowledge, right? So I'd be curious to know, like, one, if you guys had any thoughts on that. And before you answer that, I would say that 2 callers ago, there was clearly a reference to Bev as a judge in a dog show, which was definitely to the Best in Show movie with Eugene Levy back in the 80s, which is one of the funniest movies of all time. So anyway, that's a very long-winded question, but I love you guys, and you guys are awesome. So thank you very much.
I love you. Bazza would be very proud of you. You got a movie reference and Eugene Levy in there. That's very impressive. Yeah, I think you made a lot of good points. You want to respond to any of them, Abby, too?
Yeah, I think it is really important I think there is a disconnect between, especially like the tech terms. So, when they were talking about a lot of like the how's long to die and the cold, like the WAV files. I'm going to be honest, I'm a tech person, and even that confused me. I think really trying to break down video in a very easy to understand way. I try to do that with one of my videos on YouTube. Maybe it wasn't like, that was more, I would say it was like more intermediate, but even just starting to think about, for at least a defense of like how to find an expert that can really super easily break that down to, okay, so what is an H.264 file? What are, you know, again, when we talk about like flavors and wrappers as in containers, and kind of make it a little bit more easy to understand, because it is a very advanced thing when you're talking about like a stream and then the different file types, because that can get a little confusing. And I totally understand it can get confusing. When I first started Avid, I remember we were breaking down all these different files and formats, files, codecs, and it was very hard to understand at first. So I think that you have to really bring somebody in that's really good at teaching.
Yeah, definitely. That's a great point.
Because I think even the last people that were like the Google experts of like how's long to die in the cold, like the cell phone experts, like they weren't good at breaking that down either, because that was just hard.
Yeah,
I think
yeah, maybe a teacher, like that would be good. I think
like a video instructor.
I think they should even like break it down to Bev, like about why like the data is important, like why metadata is important, like even just saying like it's a digital footprint that that records time, it records actions. It's basically like a fingerprint. It's a digital fingerprint. It's evidence that we need. And I think that just breaking it down that simple to her.
I think to her is different than to to a jury. For her, I think it's important right now to break it down.
Yeah.
Like to break down the difference between, again, like an EXE file, a PSX file, a PSI file, and then a regular, what they said in the motion of what they call like non-proprietary files that aren't as good as the original, but also that are like, again, like they're not proprietary. So those are the MP4s, the AVIs. And being able to break that down easily and saying like, hey, we need these proprietary formats because those are the only formats that are going to give us the data that we need. And that at the end of the day, it's like either give those 3 files. That's all you need to break that down. Because if they can provide a PSX, an EXE, or a .ps, I think at the end of the day, that is what you're going to need for these videos to even be valid in court, because you can't just play an MP4. It doesn't prove anything. Yeah. Doesn't have like the metadata that you need to like prove that it's real. I could make an MP4 and I can alter it, and there's nothing you could really see as far as, there's probably a few little indicators in there, but you wouldn't really be able to tell the data that you really need for that time frame for a murder trial, because we're talking about a murder trial. It's not just like, hey, let's prove this is real or fake. This is like somebody's life is on the line. So right. I think that shouldn't even be allowed in court if they can't provide those 3 types of files.
Definitely. And Tammy says she is not important. The jury is. She is important right now when we're looking at rulings. And so we got to play to who your audience is. Right now it's the judge. Later on it'll be the jury. But I think both, it's, obviously we heard the juror interview. These people are not, you definitely have to dumb it down for people. Good call. I agree 100%, Jimmy, if you're still there. Thank you for calling. Do you have any other follow-ups before we let you go?
No, I'll let you guys go. You're right. Karen Reed's team has got this. Keep up the good fight. I love you guys.
Thank you so much. Have a great night. I like our local callers. If you're local, keep. Oh, I say local. We got a Hawaii caller.
Oh, nice.
Hawaii. Maybe this is Eddie Vedder. I heard he used to live in Hawaii. Hi, who's calling tonight?
Hi, this is Jean.
I'm sorry. Say that again.
This is Jean.
Jean. How you doing, Jean?
From California. I'm good. I'm really enjoying the show. I watch you a lot. And thanks to Video Jesus. I want to add, because I was a technical person, and I'm not now, but you're doing a great job of explaining all the technicalities. I think for the audience and the jury, what they need to hear is the simple explanation, not just once, but repeatedly. Yeah. Like, you break it down and you say what it means, but you got to say it again and again you give great examples, but you got to reinforce it by saying it again, because it kind of, when you don't have anything to tag it to, it goes in one ear, you hold it for a minute, and then it slips out with the next bit of information. So I think from listening to the juror who did the interview, what I saw was that Lally and team talked about the snow ad infinitum, so everybody knew it was snowing. The defense, when they got up and gave their great defenses, they might have said it once or twice. And people, because it was the end of the trial, you listen more attentively at the beginning. They didn't catch the meaning of the data and why it matters. And so I think in presentation, they got to say it over and over.
You're
Even
right.
for the judge, you got to do pictures. You got to do, you got to just
Repetition.
break it down, not just once.
Yeah, I do in a show.
Yes.
I do this
Yes.
all the time. If I want to promote something, I just keep repeating it over and over and over again, because I know people, they don't hear it the first time. If you say it 5 times, then they hear it. So like tonight, we're going to be promoting Abby. It's pinned in the chat for people who didn't hear it earlier. Yeah, follow Abby. Pinned at the top of the chat. It's pinned at the top of the chat. Go follow Abby the YouTube. That's what it is. Repetition. I agree 100%. They need to repeat more.
And then at the end, not just what it is, but why it matters. Like, so what, right? So they don't give you this data. So why is that so important? And then say it again and again. Like, these guys are hiding stuff, or they would give it to you.
Yeah.
They can't give it to you because it would show it's been altered. And if it's altered with, game over.
Yeah.
And then you just say it again and again.
I agree.
So anyway, I really, I'm excited to see the show and to hear you saying exactly. It stirs my spirit and makes me mad.
I agree. Repetition important. I also think repeating too, the reasonable doubt, the reason that you have to go with reasonable doubt. They need to really hammer that home. Repeat that a lot too.
And if you say it enough, then it sticks. And when they're arguing, they can come up with, we can't do it. We can't convict her because there's too much information missing.
Reasonable doubt.
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you so much for calling, Gene.
Yeah. Anyway. Thank you.
I think even too, a great way to do would just be to like break it down in analogies. I'm not very good at analogies, but Olivia Benson, I've been on her show a couple of times. She's really good at like doing educational analogies. So maybe even breaking it down in like an educational analogy would be a good idea.
Awesome. I took the phone number down and we're still getting calls. Who's on the phone right now?
Hey, Mike, it's Jeremy from Sacramento, California.
Jeremy, how you doing tonight?
Good. So something that Abby said and that you just said. So we think of this case in simple terms, right? If the Commonwealth is accusing Karen of hitting John O'Keefe with a vehicle, so the vehicle is the murder weapon, right? So if she had stabbed him with a knife, of course they're going to take pictures of the knife. They're going to keep chain of custody logs where it goes all the way through the process, right? But the reason why Abby's work is so important, why the videos are so important, is because the murder weapon has zero chain of custody. No one, like you guys said earlier, no one's, and what Liza Little had said, there's no one that's willing to say, I pulled this video from this system to this system. Yeah. And the metadata is literally just or even like you said about the containers, the video can't be verified, just like with the phone extractions, there's no encryption key. And so like even the write ahead file, like the write ahead log, I think one thing Green may have mentioned it, but didn't emphasize the iPhone system, which I guess he did at one point. He did say the reason why we have our forensic analysts is because Apple keeps things proprietary, so they're not going to help us, right? But if you go to like the developer website, Apple Developer, you can look at, so like I had looked at Jen McCabe's phone, because they said in one of the reports, the date of the last update, right? So you can see, okay, she had iOS version 15 point whatever, and you can look at those, like the programming structure, the file structure, and then, okay, what happens when you go to a browser? Well, the system, you type something in, it immediately just goes into the write-ahead log. And that's just in case suddenly your phone crashes. That way, when it comes back up, it can resume what you were doing, right? So that the timestamps have to be it's exactly when it happened, because that's how a computer works. It needs to know which file to process first, what are you doing? Like it can't possibly be any other time but what's specifically written there, right? Same, with the Sallyport videos, we got people jumping around. Nobody can testify to when it was even copied. Nobody can follow the chain of custody of the vehicle, and that destroys the whole case. But you're right, and there's so many people that are nerdy, and we love it. We're smart, and it is tough to dumb it down sometimes. Like, even when we, it's like, what was it? I don't know if you ever watched the TV show Psych with Sean and Gus, and he's like pretending to be a doctor because he's trying to get information on this guy, and he looks at the chart, and he's like, there's some resident doctors, It's like, oh, so tell me what do you think this says? And then he's like, tell me like I'm 5, because he still couldn't dumb it down enough. Yeah. It's like, yeah, the whole, like, we love, like, Kara's attorneys are phenomenal, right? And we understand what they're saying, but they're like, because we can catch the implications of what they're saying, right? But there's some lawyers out there, like even, Bettero. I can't wait to see him in action. But, they're like, we got to dumb it down so much more. Obviously, after seeing what, Ronnie was great because he was brave and just told us what he saw, and I know everyone's chopping at the bit, like wanting to admonish him, but it's like, okay,
now we know what
we
we're up
dumb
against.
It down.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh, dumb it down. And the one last thing that I just can't believe the audacity. Hank Brennan literally just makes things up as he goes. I'm pretty certain that he was literally, I think he was literally reading the transcript, because he said verbatim what Dr. Wolf said during the voir dire, right? But then he goes, that would have been nice to know, But he was, and so obviously you could tell the difference. Once Dad's pissed, and she's like, okay, so obviously she believed his lies, right? Because he literally says, I reached out to the government through the TUI process, and this is what they gave me back. And he starts reading what the defense said to him. And so Dad's pissed, wants to go, scorched earth, like reach out to the feds you were talking to. And he's like, oh, by the way, I just lied.
Yeah, it was the defense. I mean, I didn't believe that too. That was so bizarro. You make a great point, Jeremy.
Yeah. Anyway,
so shady.
Love your work, and yeah, you do a great job, Mike. Don't ever discount yourself. Like, that's why we have expert witnesses and people. Abby's your expert witness. You're the facilitator, and you have a great radio voice. Oh. So, but anyway, you have any questions, I'll try not to be keep going. I tend to talk a lot because I love this case. It's like just driving me nuts all the
I
time.
can tell. Thank you so much for calling, Jeremy from Sacramento.
No worries. Take care, Abby. Take care, Mike.
You too. Have a great night. You made some great points. Everyone's got some good points tonight. They're just ringing off the hook. They're into this tonight. Hi, who's calling?
Hey.
Hey, you're live on the show. Who's calling?
Oh, I don't want to say. I just want to tell you, you guys are doing a fantastic job. I love the content. I love your commentary and your insight. It's fantastic. And I love, most of all, that you are exposing these corrupted officials and the McCabe's. They got ties. They got people in high places. And you're seeing it unfold right now. And I thank you so much for being a part of this, because you know what? Their time is going to come. Their time is up, man.
Thank you for calling.
Yes? Hey, thank you for having me on. And man, y'all's insight is, I just love it.
Awesome. Do you watch the show a lot?
Oh, yes, I do. I'm, I kind of stay in the background, and this is the first time I've ever called a show, and that's how much I appreciate what you guys are doing. Okay?
Oh, thank you so much.
Nobody else except Turtle Boy and everybody else that jumped in on, y'all got the balls to do it. And I appreciate it because the truth needs to be, it needs to be heard. And y'all are breaking it down, and I am listening.
Oh, thank you so much for watching and being a part of it. Yes.
Hey, you know what? Thank you so much for doing this, because this ain't just happening in Massachusetts. Okay?
Yeah.
You're right.
I think it's happening a lot of places.
It is. Look at Morrissey, that, with, New Mexico, and, she was willing to hide evidence, and these prosecutors have too much power, in my opinion.
Yeah, unchecked.
That's
yeah.
Because you could be Karen, I could be Karen, anyone could be Karen right now.
That's right.
That's a scary thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It could happen to anybody.
Scary. It could happen to anybody.
Yeah.
Anyone. Thank you guys for doing this, because y'all are saying this could happen to anybody, and they're railroading her. Yeah. And that could be anybody, just like y'all said. Yep.
Definitely.
That's scary. And y'all are putting it out there, and y'all are getting it out there, and y'all are exposing them. Their corruption, they're dirty, they're crooked, and I'm so thankful that y'all are putting the word in and putting the word out.
Thank you so much for calling. Call back again. I want to read this comment here. Super chat came in from Jerry Grace. Jerry says, Kelly Reed is in every chat on every creator's lives. I'm sure she feeds everything to the team. Creators like you, Mike, are so important in 2.0. Abby, you are awesome. Keep educating the dream team. Thank you so much for the super chat tonight. Yeah. Jerry.
My name is Robin.
Hi, Robin. You're live on the show. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. How are you? How are you, Abby?
Good. How are you?
My question.
Yes, we're doing.
I'm good. My question is for Abby.
Sure.
And it is, while the prosecution was putting on exhibits, they would show a file list in between exhibits, and you could see that there were different file types. And can't you screen cap that if you're the defense and say, look, they have the files that contain the metadata, and point out which files that have the extension that you're looking for?
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I posted it earlier in the show too, of just, that one Lally screen grab from D20. And those are the files that you would need. You would need a .exe file, you would need a .psx file, or you would need a .ps file. And those were the screenshots that we saw on day 20. So, I mean, that's what they should do, is say, hey, look, these were here on this day. Where are they now?
Yeah, because they don't need to download them from anywhere else. The prosecution has them in their possession.
Yes. Thank you for calling. Thank you so much for the question tonight. I guess we have a North Carolina state trooper in the chat trying to get through on the phone.
Sure.
So I hope just take his call or her call, whoever she is. Now my Window's trying to do an update. Not now.
Not now.
Not now.
I hate when that happens.
Yeah. We have had great callers tonight. I appreciate every call.
Yeah.
We'll put the number back up again, but please, I'm afraid to, because then everyone's going to start calling again. Well, I want to hear from the North Carolina retired state trooper, if we can. 978-560-3155. He says he's calling. Or they. I should say they. Could be a female.
I'm excited to hear this because I want to know more.
I think this is it. This is North Carolina. Let's see who it is. I love when law enforcement calls.
Hello?
Hi, you live on the show.
Hey, this is a retired trooper. A few folks want me to call in. How you doing?
Dude, what should you say your name again?
Retired trooper, North Carolina.
Okay. Did you say your name, or we're just gonna call you a nickname?
Just call me whatever you want to call me. I've been called everything in my career, so it don't really matter.
Should I call you Roscoe?
There are a lot of things in this case. That's fine. There are a lot of things in this case. This ship has already sank to the bottom. I mean, why didn't they knock on the door? Why didn't they get a search warrant to go in? Why didn't they go there and take pictures of her vehicle before they towed it? Why do they still have her vehicle? I investigated over 14,000 motor vehicle crashes, probably 250 fatalities.
Wow.
They did it. This is the absolute worst investigation I've ever seen in my life. A picture is worth 1,000 words. What they should have done initially is secure the entire crime scene, knocked on the door, got everybody out of there, searched the entire house, number one. What I would have done is I would have, if the fire truck was there, go up on the ladder, take a picture down below. Juries and people love visual. They love seeing things. And I saw very, very little pictures. Now, where is the collision report? By law, if you have a fatal, if it's over $1,000 worth of damage, you're required by law to do a report. Now, she's charged with second-degree murder while being impaired. Good luck proving she's impaired. I think somebody said they may have drew blood, 9 hours after the crash? I had that one time. I actually drew it 3 hours after the crash. We had an expert come testify that he would have been at a .10 and actually lost it. So they can't show impairment, that she was impaired.
That many hours after?
Mm-hmm.
Why did you wait 3 hours on that one, that one that you just mentioned?
Well, what happened was I had a guy, he ran off the road, and I checked on at 6 o'clock, and it was about 45 minutes from where I lived. So when I got there, he was already taken to the hospital. So I got there around 7. I completed the report, and it took me about an hour to get to the hospital. I had to find him and all that, so I wound up drawing blood about 9 o'clock. And if I can remember correctly, I believe he blew like a .06, 07 on the alpha sensor, and obviously you can't use that in court. So we got the expert from the state to come in and say that he would have been at a .10 at 5:15 in the morning, and we lost it. So they are very, 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 very difficult to win. You know, I've not heard anybody testify. Was she supposedly parked in front of the house in the driveway, supposedly backed into them? And listen, there is no way. I have seen and I've investigated many hit and runs, and I have never seen those type of injuries on somebody's arms. There is no way in the world those injuries, they are not consistent with a motor vehicle crash. I'm telling you, there is no way, zero.
Yeah. Wow.
But I would have taken, the state gives us a real nice $500 digital camera. I would have taken enough pictures that the batteries would have ran down. And you know, I don't understand why they still have a vehicle. What I would have done was, I would have completed a report. We would have called a local tow truck company. They would have stored it. I would have put a hold on it. The next day, the reconstruction unit would have went. It would have probably taken them maybe 2 days. And then I would have called her and said, ma'am, you can come get your vehicle. We're done.
Wow.
But I think it's a setup. Yeah. I think it's a complete setup. The injuries are just not consistent. Now, I have had plenty of pedestrian crashes, and every single one of them, they had bruises. They got bruises somewhere. He had no bruises, zero.
Yeah.
And I would have taken picture after picture after picture after picture. Juries love to see pictures. I testified probably 150 times before a jury and probably 100 times before a judge. Now, all of mine were DWI. I have charged a misdemeanor death. I don't know why they've charged her with murder, because obviously it's not first-degree murder. But there's no way that his arm cracked that tail light the way that they have it shown. There is no way. Also, I would have interviewed everybody. I would have separated them. We got cameras in our patrol cars. I would have videotaped everything everybody said, so when you go to court, bam, play it. So there wouldn't be any questions of what anybody said or didn't say.
Why do you think they didn't do that?
I don't know why.
Why do you think they didn't do all that? I think you said it earlier, but I want to hear it.
Because a crash never happened. Because a crash never happened. Why didn't they do a crash? Listen, where are the supervisors at in this case? I can't see me going to my supervisor. Well, number one, I wouldn't have done a report, but just say I didn't do a report. The first thing an attorney is going to ask you on the stand, the very first thing they're going to ask you after you tell them who you are, your education, your training, you have a copy of the collision report. Yes, sir. Well, let's go over it. So if they're going to say that he died as a result of a motor vehicle crash, you better have a crash report.
Definitely. Definitely.
Yeah. And
right?
I don't understand, you know, so there's just so much wrong with this case. And look, I don't, you know, cop, politician, or whatever, I had a job to do. And I did it the same with everybody. It didn't matter to me because, look, at the end of the day, I was the one that had to sit on the stand and testify before the judge and the jury, and I'm not going to lie. Now, did I make mistakes in my career and put the time down wrong on the affidavit and lost the DWI and I could have lied? Yes. I told him, yeah, I made a mistake. I lost the case. Move on. But his arm, there is no way. I mean, I can just look at his arm, and you can ask me, he was backed into. You think that those scrape marks on his arm came from a tail light? There is no way. There's no way. That ends the case to me. So, look, they should have took more pictures. They should have interviewed more people. And you've got to get everything down right before you go charge somebody. Because, listen, attorneys aren't cheap. And, you know, in this case, it's what, $5 million. I don't know many people that ask $5 million.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to charge somebody, I'm going to make sure that person did it. And, you know, all this inverting of the video, you know, look, man, I don't understand why they did all that stuff. You know, it's just a cover up.
Definitely.
Yes.
What do you think about when you hear emails like there was an email or text sent out by one of the witnesses to another witness, actually a group text from a bunch of witnesses talking to each other, and they said the guy didn't come into the house. What do you think about that statement?
He didn't come in. Well,
the guy, not their friend,
right.
The guy.
Are you talking about Mr. O'Keefe who died? Didn't come in the house.
So Matt McCabe is basically writing that to the homeowner, the Boston police officer, basically saying the guy didn't. Tell them the guy didn't come into the house.
Well, that's why you do a proper investigation from the start. You go there, you knock on the door, you separate everybody, you get a search warrant. You separate everybody. You seize their phones. You don't put evidence in a solo cup. You don't leave the scene. Listen, they claim listen. They claim they couldn't put crime scene tape up because it was 26 miles an hour. I've worked hurricanes where it was 80 miles an hour that I had to close off a road, and I tied it around a tree or anything I could find. That's BS. Now, let me say this while I got it on my mind. Those butt dials, I don't know how in the world you can butt dial somebody on an iPhone this day and time. And what a coincidence. You have two separate witnesses saying that they butt dial. In my opinion, what I think happened was one of them said, listen, I'm going to call you. I'm going to let it ring one time. I got some information for you. Call me back. That's the only rationale I can see in that. But listen, between midnight and 6 a.m., everybody's phone was burning up. Most people, they go out and party. You know, most folks are at home 1 or 2 and go to bed. But people were texting, calling. There was too much of that going on. Now, I think some people say some stuff about, Trooper Proctor, he should have been fired by now. Well, let me tell you how it works, because I've seen it firsthand. A lot of troopers get in trouble. You go to internal affairs over one thing, and you get in there, and trust me, they already know what the answer is going to be before they even ask you, just like an attorney in court. So they may have discovered other information that he may have done wrong in other cases, or stuff that he has said that we don't know. But you do not want the governor knowing your name. And that governor, she said something about Trooper Proctor, and the colonels said something about him. You don't want to be in the spotlight. So, in my opinion, I don't think he will be employed come the next trial. Now, Trooper Paul, the Reconstructionist, I don't even think he knew what city he was in, to be honest with you. I mean, look, you take your formulas to court with you. If you don't know them, you got them written down. Now, I'm gonna say this and get off so somebody else can call in. The ATF guy that was texting Miss Reed, why would he text John at 12:20 and ask him, was he coming, to the house? And second of all, I can see me taking my phone to the FBI headquarters in Virginia and having somebody go through it and do this or do that or do this or do that. That is highly suspicious. I mean, you know, they would probably fire me if I had done that. So Mr. Higgins, there's a lot of red flags with him. There's a lot of red flags. You know, why would he go back to the police department to move vehicles? I mean, that makes no sense. And he said something else. I'm trying to think. He got rid of his phone the day before he was supposed to turn it in. Do you think that's by coincidence?
No.
Come on, he was tipped off.
Yeah,
I promise you, he was tipped off.
He went to the, what was it, the Army base or whatever? He dropped it off
Yeah,
at?
yeah, I dropped it off or disposed of it at an army base.
At the military base? It's, yeah.
Very convenient.
Listen, every cell phone I've had, I've turned it into my cell phone carrier, and they delete everything. So if he thinks that we believe that he didn't know that subpoena was coming down the very next day, I've got some beachfront land I would love to sell you. Because if you believe that, something's wrong.
Exactly.
He knew it was coming.
Yeah, it's so true,
But-
too. Every single phone I've ever had, I've either done one of two things. I've either turned it into the cell phone provider, or I still have it. I still have it in my drawer. You know what I mean? Like, I've never disposed of a phone like that. So, yeah, it's a great...
I did the same thing.
Listen,
I never disposed of a phone either.
Yeah.
I just don't understand why they didn't knock on the door. Why didn't they go to the neighbors?
Exactly.
Hey, sir, ma'am, I'm trooper such and such. Do you have a ring door camera? Listen, if there's a body in my front yard tonight, I would expect the police to knock on my door.
Right.
Yeah.
And yes, you can come in.
Absolutely.
I mean, why didn't they go in that house? If they'd went in that house, this case would have never been brought. Because I'm gonna tell you now, I put my house, my dog, everything I got on it. This case, he did not die as a result of a motor vehicle crash, and you can write that down in big bold letters. I'm telling you now, I've seen it. I've done it.
How many of those
There
did you
is
do? Say that
no
again.
way.
How many of those accident scenes have you come up on again? You said a lot. How many?
Well, I did probably close over 14,000 crashes, somewhere in that range. Now, hit and runs, I probably did around, I don't know, maybe probably close to 400 or 500. And I've probably done about 300 fatalities because we work alone. You know, if I need some help, it may be 45 minutes away at 3 o'clock in the morning. And, I stop a drunk and he don't want to go to jail. Hey, it's going to be on. But when we have a fatality, we bring the cavalry and we get everything done we can on the scene. And then the next day we go to the wrecker lot, and it takes about 2 hours to go through everything. So we would have done that, and then the reconstruction would have came in and got the black box, and they would have went to the scene. Well, actually, to be honest with you, the reconstructionists, if they thought it was a result of the crash, they would have been called to the scene immediately.
Wow.
But I just don't understand why they still have her vehicle. I mean, it makes no sense whatsoever. We would have released it. Just say she did it.
Yeah.
We would have kept it, no more than 10 days.
Yeah.
And she would have had it back.
I think it's to punish her. They do everything they can to
yeah.
punish her.
There's no reason why she shouldn't have that back either.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unless
This
she's
has
trying
been
to
a great
cook stuff
call.
on it.
Well, listen. I did the job. I did the job. I worked with some of the best people you can work with. And a lot of people surprise me by getting in trouble. I don't trust anybody. But I would never, ever, ever jeopardize something like this to lose my job and possibly face criminal and civil charges, at the end. So, I'm retired. I'm sitting back collecting 2 nice checks until I die. I'm not working. I don't have to work because I did what I was supposed to do. And, you know, just as simple, listen, when Canton PD went over there, supposedly, and they got all this stuff in these solo cups, do they not have evidence bags at the police department? Because I guess they knew they were going to go get them. You don't put evidence in a solo cup.
Unbelievable.
Solo cups.
It's shopping bags. Stop and shop, shopping bags.
Right.
Stop and shop.
The way
it's crazy.
The way you put evidence is in a Manila folder type, and you got red evidence tape. So what you do is you put your evidence in the envelope, and you take the red evidence tape and you go across all four corners. And if your initials are ABC, you put A halfway on the tape and the other half on the envelope, BC, and you put the date. In case somebody goes there and tears it off, they can't line that back up, and you can tell if somebody messed with evidence or not. But listen, there's a lot wrong with this case. They're not going to convict her. I don't know what went on the other day. You know, listen, I have never seen so many sustained objections in my life. I mean, these are questions that can be answered.
It's unbelievable.
I have never seen it.
Yeah. Before we let you go, I want to ask you, could I give you a call back or text you back and schedule like an interview with you?
Yeah. I'll be happy. Just don't put my number out there.
I won't. Yeah. Just you and I'll be calling from a different.
I've got these.
Yeah.
I've got these scammers calling me about 100 times a day, and I don't answer.
Yeah,
so
nobody's going to get the number except for me, and I'll just text you. I'll text you from a 978 area code, and I want to schedule something. I would love to get you back on here.
Yeah, I would love to come on now. We have the State Highway Patrol. We are not a state police, so if this was a crash, I would have been called to do the collision report. And the State Bureau of Investigation would have handled everything else. But I got enough training and experience to tell you, I would have knocked on the door. I would have separated everybody. I would have seized all the phones. I would have taped everything. I mean, there's just so many holes. There's so many holes in this case. I would love to sit on that stand. I would eat their case alive, but obviously I really don't want to go anywhere near Massachusetts with all this stuff going on, So.
Yeah, not Norfolk County. Definitely not that county.
Yeah, not Norfolk.
Thank you for calling. I'm calling you Roscoe. I love this call. This was an amazing call. You're North Carolina Highway Patrol. Is that right?
Yeah, North Carolina State Highway Patrol, and I'm retired. So, once I retired, I can speak my mind. If I was still working, I obviously wouldn't be talking here because somebody'd probably call and complain. But, I'm retired now, and I really don't give a damn, what people think. I mean, the truth is the truth. And, the evidence is not there to convict this lady. It is not there. And like I said, text me. We can go step by step. I'll answer any question, as far as the crash or whatever. And I'll stay on as long as you want me to.
Perfect. We're going to let you go because I do got to go tonight. I got to wrap it up with Abby. But what I want to do is I want to text you back and just schedule you for a show because I think our audience loves you right now. And they're going to have a lot of questions for you. And maybe bring a few of my friends on here to ask some questions. I think it would be a great episode with you. And you don't have to even show your face. We could do it through StreamYard or just call in like you did tonight. Either way.
Well, I only have a cell phone,
we'll do it on the cell.
I don't mind showing my face. I'm not scared, but I could just point it in one direction and talk.
Yeah, the cell phone's perfect.
That's no big deal. I'm not scared. I'm not scared. So.
We can use the cell phone. Cell phone's perfect.
But anyway.
Yeah. Excellent.
All right. Well, just send me a message. Just send me a message and let me know. And I'm free most of the time, and we'll get the truth out there because I did it. I know how it's supposed to work. And let me say this before I let you go. All those law enforcement involved, You know, they probably have plenty of friends that, you know, would call them 2 or 3 times a day. They're not getting those phone calls today. I've seen it. Trust me. They are blacklisted because those other law enforcement officers know it is BS, big time.
Great call. I really appreciate you calling in. Thank you so much for calling tonight.
All right, I'll wait for your text, sir. Have a good night.
You too. Wow, that was amazing.
That was
Great.
an awesome call.
Yeah.
That was so fun. He'd make a great guest.
Yes, he would. We're definitely going to follow up with him.
Yeah, for sure.
I got to write it down before, because what will happen is my phone will start ringing and I'll lose the number.
That happens sometimes.
Yeah. Did I get him? Oh, there it is. All right. I'm writing it down right now, so I don't want to lose it. All right. Abby, do you have any final thoughts tonight? Anything else you want to draw out there?
I mean, I definitely am excited for Tuesday. Can't wait to see what happens. Maybe we'll figure out some more about the Sally Port.
Right?
That's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that we at least get some answers. We probably won't. It'll probably just be all of the same, and then we'll be meeting next week again.
It's crazy, isn't it?
It's so nuts. But I hope at least like we'll get a little bit more answers from Brennan and like just see what his comebacks are when he's asked to produce this evidence that I don't think is ever going to happen.
We got a
But
question
it'll
for
be
you.
interesting to see.
This question came in and said, can the Chiron or Chiron, I don't even know how to say that, Chiron, with the time stamps be removed on the Reed's ring video?
I mean, I don't think so. It depends. Yes, probably. It could. It depends if the file, if it's like embedded in the file, which I'm sure probably has like a caption. If it's an MP4, it probably has a caption file, which they could remove it. They could for sure remove it. If you separate out the caption from the actual H.264 file, you could. I don't really know. I haven't really tested ring footage yet, so I'm not super sure, but I'm pretty sure that you might be able to separate the time code from the video.
Awesome. We have pinned Abby's Twitter, her X account, and her YouTube in the chat. So please follow. And did you pick up some YouTube subscribers last time, you think?
I did. So hopefully I'll be posting. I'm finishing up the last video because I had to kind of redo it a bit after Tuesday.
Awesome.
So stay tuned. I'll probably be dropping a video either tomorrow or Saturday.
Great.
Because I want to break it down for everybody so I don't confuse people.
Yes. And we call Abby Video Jesus. So hashtag Video Jesus on Twitter as well. Mm-hmm. I follow Abby on Twitter. The link's in the chat, on the YouTube chat. So definitely follow her. I want to thank you so much for coming on. This is the third time we've done this. And every time it's been great. Yeah.
Maybe next week we'll meet a fourth time, depending on what the Sally Ports.
That's right. And this time we
got quoted. We got quoted for the EXE.
Yeah, you got quoted. This is huge. You got quoted by Alan Jackson. I'm convinced of it now.
I'm convinced of it.
Yeah,
I think
yeah, we all are. Our callers are too. Yeah, and we took a lot of calls. Did we take any calls last time you were on?
Yeah, I think we did. Well, I had to jump off quick, so we didn't get to as many calls. But the callers today were great, right?
Yeah, they were.
We had some really good callers.
I mean, I love Greg from New Hampshire. Both Gregs were funny. Greg had the second Greg had a joke. I don't know where he was from, but he was funny.
Yeah.
I mean, we had so many. We had Michelet. We had Jean from California. I thought it was Hawaii. She's from California. And I don't know. I think the big thing we have to figure out before we go is what are we going to call this highway, this North Carolina State Highway Patrol? I need to come up. I said Roscoe. That might be a little, I don't know, too much because I'm thinking Dukes of Hazzard. I think he's better than a Roscoe. What do we call him? Do you have any suggestions, Abby, or anyone in the chat? We need to give him a nickname, some kind of name that we call him.
What is the University of North Carolina? What is their mascot?
Tar Heel?
Anybody know? I think it's...
Oh, that's UNC. I don't know.
North Carolina mascot. Well, I should know this because my cousins are actually from North Carolina.
The Tar Heels. The Tar Heels.
You could do that. Yeah, you could do that. You know, I don't know. We'd have to think of a good branding name.
Yeah. Someone said pinch.
Officer
Well,
Pinch.
I'm looking at the. Someone said Duke. We could call him Duke. That's another college. Isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, you could do that, dude.
Tar Heel Patrol. Tar Heel Patrol.
I always just think of Super Troopers.
Yeah. How about like Hutch or Starsky? Starsky and Hutch?
I like
Remember?
Starsky and Hutch. Yeah, I like that. That's good.
Who's like the baddest ass cop around? Let's think of who's like a really badass cop. Give him that nickname.
I'm trying to think of a good reference.
And he's a decorated dude. Can't be Chip. Yeah, we can't call him Chip. Dirty Harry. I like that one. Let's call
I
him
like
Dirty
that
Harry.
one. Yes,
might
I
be
think
too
that's the
much,
winner.
though. Yeah. Dirty Harry. Someone said I think Roscoe is good. I don't know if that
I
is
like Roscoe.
Yeah,
I
you
like
do like
Roscoe.
Roscoe?
Or
All right. I'll ask him. I'll be like, would you rather be referred to Roscoe or Dirty Harry or Hutch? Starsky and Hutch.
I like Starsky and Hutch. Or
Well,
Officer
they're
Hutch.
two
or
people.
Starsky.
You got to pick one name. Yeah, we call him. I guess we can
I
call
like
him two people.
Starsky.
Starsky.
That's yeah. I like that one the best.
It's so funny. Someone said Josie Wheels. They're doing all the Clint Eastwood stuff.
Ooh, yep.
Oh, how about
Good
Serpico?
reference.
I like that one. Serpico.
Like that one too.
Or just call him the retired trooper, RT. I like that one. RT. Retired.
RT's not bad either.
Yeah, we should ask him. I did ask him. He said, call me anything because I've gotten, what did he say? Got called a lot of names over the years. He doesn't really care.
Yeah.
Roscoe is the best choice. I think I might go with Roscoe.
I like Roscoe. I
Yeah.
like Roscoe.
Oh, we could call him Maverick. Oh, maybe Goose.
I like Maverick too.
It's funny. Last night's show I knew was really good because the trolls started backing up. They would call me Dana Carvey. I was like, I'm more like Goose from Top Gun. That's what people used to say. I look like Goose, the Goose guy that got killed.
Those trolls. They're an interesting bunch to say the least.
The Iceman. Oh, we could call him the Iceman. I like that one.
Yeah, I like that.
This has been fun. I thank you so much for being
so
here
much
tonight,
fun.
Abby.
Thank you
I'm
for
sure,
inviting
like you
me.
said, I'm sure we'll do it again probably in a week or two whenever they get back to whenever Hank Brennan, realizes that he has to do something here.
Yes, and when we get the metadata, which we'll never get. It's kind of like the magic file, which I called it. I did call it. I said we would never see that file. I'm still going to donate because I did
So far,
promise.
you're
that I
right.
was-
Yep, you're right on the mark.
I mean, I did make a bet, and I said I will donate $200 if they don't. I still will. I'm literally going to do good on my bet either way because I called it. I knew that they weren't going to get the file. I was hoping for the best, and I'm like, but $200, they won't get the file.
Yeah. Yep.
It's unfortunate, but you know what? They might get something. They might get something.
We'll see. We'll see. Seeing is believing with Hank
Yep.
Brennan. I like Rich Vestine. He's an attorney, a friend of Betterow.
Yeah.
He said, you got to get everything in writing from this guy.
Yeah.
Put everything in writing.
See.
man.
We'll see if they get the metadata, which I still doubt, but we'll
Yep.
see what the download's gonna look like.
Yeah, the drop and click.
The drop and click.
Just drop and click.
The drop and click is gonna be an MP4. Mark my words, it's gonna be an MP4. It's gonna be an
Yes.
MP4.
Yep. All right. I want to thank you so much, Abby.
Thank you.
We'll see you again very soon, and hopefully we'll have more laughs too. More laughs at
Yeah,
Brennan.
for sure.
Have a great night.
You too. Have a good one.
We're the Young Jerks. I want to thank Abby for being here tonight. I want to thank all the great calls. I'm still looking to figure out what we're going to call this police officer. We can't call him Chips. That's too close to Chip. Abby is awesome. I want to thank Abby. Make sure you follow her on Twitter X, whatever you call it, and YouTube. We have it pinned in the chat tonight. I want to thank our moderators. I want to thank MJ. I want to thank Stephanie, Jen, and Sarah and Shock and Horror. Thank you so much, Scott McGinnis, as well as another moderator of ours. Thank our mod team. They are the best. I want to thank all of our callers tonight. We had a ton of them. We had Kathy from Arizona. We had Greg from New Hampshire. We had another Greg. We had Gene from California. I'm missing some. We had Jimmy. Jimmy was good. Michelet called tonight again. There were some others I'm missing, but we had our friend from Mexico City who called. And we had that retired North Carolina highway patrol officer who has seen a bunch of car accidents, and we're going to definitely clip that and put that up, and I'm going to follow up with him very soon, try to book a show. All right, I thank you so much for watching and supporting. I'm not sure what our next show is. I might take tomorrow off. I think I might need a day. We'll see. But 3 in a row, no mutes. I think I had a perfect show again tonight. All right. I'll see everyone soon. I want to thank everyone for the super chats tonight. Sherry D. I want to thank Eric. Thank you so much, Eric Clark. Thank you, Jerry, again. Jerry's been making some donos. Thank you. And Glamassus. And I got to check the Venmo real quick. I want to thank Barbara she made a donation last night. Thank you so much. I think I did thank you, but if I didn't, I want to make sure I did. Thank you, Barbara. And Angela, who just sent $5 on the Cash App. Thank you so much, Angela. Very nice of you. Just received that on the Cash App. Thank you so much, Angela. All right, I'm headed out. I got to go walk a dog now. Have a great night, everyone. We'll see you soon.